Imagine Naruto waking up one day and realize he isn't just a nine-tailed Jinchuriki, but the true reincarnation of God Enel. So, the one who is God of thunder himself. So, no more approval, no more Dattebayo, no more talk justu. Just the God of thunder himself. Get ready for divine ego, the thunder god disrespect, and a shinobi world that learn one important lesson. Never bully the kid who might grow up and become the Wi-Fi router for the entire world. I mean, he can connect to the moon. I mean, he went to the moon in One Piece manga. So yeah. So before we begin, make sure to leave a like, share, and subscribe. How to hit harder than Enel, seeing Luffy for the first time. So yeah, without wasting any more time, let's jump right back into the video.
Chapter 1. Insects and Emperor's Divine Awakening. In the hidden leaf, Naruto Uzumaki's apartment was small enough that most people would have called it pitiful. A single room. A narrow bed, a table with one uneven leg. Empty ramen cups stacked beside the sink like offerings to some cheap, hungry shrine. Clothes lay wherever they had fallen, orange fabric bright against the dull wood floor. The window did not close properly, so the morning air always entered whether he invited it or not. To anyone else, it looked lonely. To Naruto, it looked temporary. He sat on the windowsill with one knee raised, chin resting lazily against his arm, and watched Konoha wake beneath him. The village stirred in layers. First came the merchants, dragging wooden shutters open with sleepy hands. Then the shinobi, moving across rooftops in silence, shadows crossing the pale gold of dawn. Then civilians, children, dogs, cartwheels, arguments, breakfast smoke, gossip. 1,000 tiny movements, all pretending to matter. Naruto watched them with quiet eyes, not angry eyes, not sad eyes. That was what confused people most. The villagers expected rage from him. They expected desperation. A child hated by everyone was supposed to beg, scream, break, or perform. He was supposed to chase acknowledgement like a starving dog chasing scraps, but Naruto did not beg. He watched. That made them uneasy. Down on the street, an old woman carrying vegetables glanced up and saw him in the window. Her face tightened. She looked away quickly and pulled her basket closer to her chest, as if a 12-year-old boy on a windowsill could reach through the air and steal the breath from her lungs. Naruto noticed. He noticed everything. He noticed the baker who always closed his door when Naruto passed. He noticed the shopkeeper who overcharged him by 3 ryo every Thursday. He noticed the mothers who dragged their children to the other side of the street, but only when they thought he was looking. He noticed the shinobi who pretended not to watch him from the rooftops. He knew the village disliked him. He simply had not decided whether that mattered. A gust of wind slid through the broken window and lifted the edge of a paper stuck to his door. Someone had written on it during the night, "Monster." The ink was thick and ugly, pressed so hard into the paper that the brush had torn through near the final stroke. Naruto looked at it for a while. Then he got down from the windowsill, crossed the room, and peeled the paper away. He did not crumple it. He did not tear it. He placed it neatly on the table beside 3 others. The words were different on each one: demon, fox, curse, monster. Insects made noise when frightened that did not make the noise important. Naruto dressed slowly. Orange jacket, blue sandals. Headband absent because he had not earned one yet, according to the village rules. He looked at himself in the cracked mirror over the sink, blue eyes, whisker marks, untidy blonde hair, a child's face. That was the annoying part. His reflection stared back at him with the same calm distance he gave the village. There were days when he felt as if he were looking at a mask he had agreed to wear but never chosen. Something in him had always known he was larger than his skin, not stronger, not smarter, not even older, larger. Like a storm folded into a paper lantern, he did not have words for it yet. He only knew that when people shouted at him, something inside him looked down. Naruto picked up an empty ramen cup, considered breakfast, found nothing worth eating, and left the apartment. The village reacted to his presence the way grass reacted to a snake, not dramatically, not honestly, just enough. A conversation lowered as he passed. A door closed. A child pointed before being pulled back. A Chunin on patrol looked at him for a second too long, then looked away too quickly. Naruto walked through all of it without changing pace. He had once wondered why they hated him. That had been years ago. Now he wondered why they thought their hatred was heavy. By the time he reached the academy, the other students were already gathered near the training yard, their voices bright with nervous energy. Graduation day had turned the air sharp. Children who had spent years throwing kunai at wooden posts were now pretending they were ready to become soldiers. Naruto paused at the gate. The academy building stood clean and official beneath the morning sun, its walls decorated with symbols of discipline, loyalty, and inherited purpose. It was a place built to convince children that obedience was the same as strength. Naruto found the idea mildly amusing. Inside the classroom, the usual noise hit him like thrown paper. Hey, Naruto's actually on time. Maybe he got lost and ended up in the right place. Think he'll fail again? Laughter. Naruto moved to his seat near the back and sat down. He did not glare. He did not shout back. He did not climb onto the desk and promise to become Hokage. That version of him existed only because people expected a lonely child to turn pain into performance. This Naruto had stopped performing. Sasuke Uchiha sat by the window, surrounded by silence of a different kind. The class admired Sasuke's silence. They feared Naruto's. Sakura Haruno whispered something to Ino. Kiba laughed too loudly. Shikamaru looked half asleep but opened one eye when Naruto entered. Iruka Umino stood at the front of the room with a clipboard in his hands and worry tucked behind his expression. Naruto noticed that too. Iruka had always been different from the others, not kind enough to be harmless, not cruel enough to be simple. Complicated people were more interesting. Settle down, Iruka said. The classroom quieted. Today is your graduation exam. You'll be called one at a time. The test is the clone jutsu. Create at least one functional clone and you pass. A ripple went through the room. Naruto watched the faces around him. Fear, pride, hunger, doubt. Children wrapping their entire worth around one small technique, the clone jutsu. A basic academy technique requiring moderate chakra control and stable distribution. Naruto understood the theory. He had understood it for months. The problem was not that he could not do it. The problem was that he found the exercise insulting. First, Haruno Sakura. Sakura stood quickly, face pale but determined. She walked into the adjoining examination room. A few seconds later, Iruka's voice carried back. Pass. She returned with shining eyes. One by one, the others went. Kiba passed. Shino passed. Hinata passed quietly, her eyes briefly flicking toward Naruto as she returned to her seat. Sasuke passed with ease, producing a clone so clean it seemed bored to exist. Then Iruka looked at the clipboard again. Naruto Uzumaki. The room shifted, not loudly. Not obviously, but every student leaned into the moment. Naruto stood. He walked to the examination room. Iruka and Mizuki were waiting inside. Iruka sat forward, encouraging despite himself. Mizuki smiled. Naruto disliked Mizuki's smile. It was too practiced, too soft around the edges. A smile designed to make children feel chosen. Whenever you're ready, Iruka said. Naruto stepped into the center of the room. He formed the hand signs correctly. Ram, snake, tiger. Chakra gathered inside him like water behind a gate. No, not water, something sharper, something bright. For a moment, the lights overhead flickered. Iruka blinked. Mizuki's smile thinned. Naruto felt the chakra respond. He could have shaped it. Could have produced 1 clone, 10 clones, 100 if the technique deserved that much attention. Instead, he let the chakra collapse. A pale, limp copy appeared beside him and fell sideways with a soft thud. Silence. Then, from the hallway, someone laughed. Iruka closed his eyes briefly. Naruto looked at the failed clone, then at Iruka, then at Mizuki. That should be enough data, Naruto said. Iruka frowned. Data? Naruto did not answer. Mizuki leaned forward. Unfortunately, that's a fail. Iruka's jaw tightened. Mizuki, the rules are clear, Mizuki said gently. A functional clone is required. Iruka looked at Naruto, and for one strange second, Naruto saw something like grief pass over his teacher's face. That interested him more than the exam. "You can try again next time," Iruka said, voice quieter. Naruto tilted his head. "Can I?" "Of course." Naruto studied him. Iruka meant it. "How strange." "Then I'll decide later," Naruto said. He turned and walked out. The classroom exploded with laughter when the result became obvious. Naruto returned to his seat and sat down as if nothing had happened. Sasuke looked at him from across the room, eyes narrowed. For the first time all morning, Naruto looked back. Sasuke's gaze was sharp, but young. A blade that had not yet learned what kind of hand it belonged in. Interesting, perhaps, not urgent. When the day ended, the new graduates gathered outside with their headbands, showing them off to parents, siblings, teachers, anyone willing to admire the symbol of their first step into the shinobi world. Naruto stood at the edge of the yard and watched. No one came for him. No one had been expected to. Iruka found him there. "Naruto?" Naruto turned. Iruka held no headband. That was expected. "I know today was hard," Iruka said. Naruto said nothing. "You don't have to pretend it doesn't bother you." Naruto looked past him at the children laughing under the afternoon sun. "I'm not pretending." Iruka's expression shifted. That answer hurt him. Naruto was not sure why. Before Iruka could speak again, Mizuki appeared near the fence, smiling that soft smile. "Iruka-sensei," Mizuki said. "The Hokage wanted to see you about the graduation records." Iruka sighed. "Now, afraid so." Iruka looked back at Naruto. "Stay out of trouble, okay?" Naruto gave no promise. Iruka left. Mizuki waited until he was gone, then he approached. "Naruto," he said warmly. "You know, Iruka can be strict, but he does care." Naruto looked at him. Mizuki's smile did not reach his eyes. "He's only hard on you because he wants you to succeed." "Is that what you came to tell me?" Mizuki paused, then smiled wider. "You're sharper than people think." "I know." The answer knocked the rhythm out of him for half a second. Mizuki recovered quickly. "There might still be a way for you to pass." Naruto's eyes remained still. "A special test," Mizuki continued. "A hidden one. If you can learn a technique from a certain scroll and show it to Iruka, he'll have no choice but to graduate you." "Why would the village hide a graduation method?" Mizuki's smile held. "Because shinobi need to know how to uncover secrets." A lie, not even a good one. Naruto almost walked away. Then Mizuki said, "The scroll of sealing." The air changed, not outside, inside Naruto. Something deep and old turned its attention. Mizuki kept talking, unaware that he had just become useful. "It's kept in the Hokage's residence. Forbidden techniques, powerful ones. Learn even one and you'll prove everyone wrong." Forbidden techniques, sealing arrays. The word sealing moved through Naruto like thunder heard through stone. For as long as he could remember, there had been something inside him wrapped in symbols he had never seen, but somehow felt. A cage without walls, a lock without a key. Lines of force crossing through his stomach and spine and dreams. The scroll of sealing might not give him power, but it might explain the shape of the lock. Naruto looked at Mizuki. "Where?" Mizuki's eyes brightened. And so the village lost its most dangerous scroll to a boy who was not fooled for even a second. It was almost disappointing how easy it was. The Hokage's residence had guards, seals, patrol routes, and window angles. It also had people who underestimated Naruto Uzumaki. Because underestimation was one of the few village traditions, everyone practiced consistently. Naruto entered through a roof vent, crossed 3 halls, avoided 2 patrols, and found the scroll hidden behind a false panel that was protected by a seal so old it buzzed faintly against his skin. He touched the seal. For a moment, blue-white light crawled over his fingers. The seal did not reject him. It recognized something, or something in him recognized it. Naruto lifted the scroll and left. By sunset, he was in the forest beyond the academy, sitting beneath a tree with the massive scroll open before him. The first technique on the page was the multi-shadow clone jutsu. Naruto read the description once, then again. Not because it was difficult, because it was crude. Useful, perhaps, but crude. a mass replication technique that divided chakra evenly among physical copies. Dangerous for average shinobi due to chakra drain. Forbidden because an untrained user could exhaust himself before understanding the cost. Naruto stared at the explanation. So this was what the village considered forbidden, a way to make more bodies, efficient for labor. Useful for battlefield confusion. Potentially interesting for information gathering if memory transfer occurred after dismissal. But power? No, still he learned it. Not because Mizuki wanted him to, because learning was taking, and Naruto enjoyed taking things from locked rooms. The first attempt produced 20 clones. The second produced 200. By the third attempt, the forest clearing was filled with Narutos, all standing silently beneath the trees, looking at one another with identical calm expressions. A squirrel froze on a branch overhead and wisely decided not to move. Naruto dismissed the clones, their memories returned like raindrops hitting a pond. No pain. No collapse, just information. His body hummed. That was new. He looked down at his hands. For a second, something pale moved beneath his skin, not chakra, not exactly. A flicker, a line of light tracing the veins in his wrist. Naruto opened and closed his fingers. The light vanished. He smiled faintly, not with joy, with recognition. So this is where you ran off to? Iruka's voice came from the trees. Naruto turned. His teacher stood at the edge of the clearing, breathing hard, one hand pressed against the bark of a tree. His expression was caught between anger and relief. Naruto, Iruka said, do you have any idea what you stole? Yes. Iruka stopped. That answer again, not defensive, not guilty, simple. Then why? Naruto looked at the scroll, because it was hidden. That is not a reason. It is usually the only honest one. Iruka stared at him. Before he could respond, another voice cut through the clearing. Well, well. You found him faster than I expected. Mizuki stepped onto a branch above them, a giant shuriken strapped across his back. The softness was gone from his face now. Without it, he looked smaller. Iruka moved instantly, placing himself between Mizuki and Naruto. Mizuki, he said, voice low. What are you doing? What I should have done years ago. Naruto watched the exchange with increasing disinterest. Mizuki looked at him. Hand over the scroll, Naruto. No, the answer was immediate. Mizuki's eye twitched. You don't understand what that is. I understand it better than you do. Iruka glanced back sharply, but Mizuki laughed. There it is. That arrogance, you really don't know, do you? Naruto said nothing. Mizuki's grin turned cruel. Fine, let's fix that. The whole village has been lying to you, Naruto. 12 years ago, the 9 tails attacked Konoha. It destroyed homes, families, lives, and then the 4th Hokage sealed it away. Iruka went pale. Mizuki, don't. Mizuki leaned forward. He sealed it inside you. The forest seemed to hold its breath. Iruka looked at Naruto with horror, as if waiting for the boy to break. Naruto looked back at Mizuki, then blinked once. That explains the villagers, he said. Iruka's mouth parted, Mizuki's smile faltered. Naruto looked down at his stomach. A seal, a beast, a village built on fear and silence. The information settled into place cleanly. It did not wound him. It organized things. Mizuki stared at him. That's it! Naruto looked up. What reaction did you want? For the first time, Mizuki seemed genuinely unsettled. Then anger filled the space where manipulation had failed. Monster, he snapped. There it was again, that small word, that insect noise. Mizuki reached back and pulled the giant shuriken from its strap. Iruka moved, Mizuki threw. The weapon spun through the air with brutal force, cutting leaves from branches as it screamed toward Naruto. Iruka lunged to intercept it. He was too slow. Naruto watched the shuriken come. For the first time in his life, something inside him decided that waiting was over. The world turned white, not white like snow, white like the center of lightning. The shuriken reached Naruto's chest and passed through him, no blood, no impact, no torn cloth. For one impossible instant, Naruto was not flesh. He was light shaped like a boy. His outline broke apart into blue-white arcs, a human figure translated into living electricity. The shuriken spun through the empty brightness where his ribs should have been and slammed into a tree behind him. Thunder cracked across the clearing a heartbeat late. Uruka fell backward, one arm raised against the sudden glare. Mizuki froze. Naruto reformed slowly, first the feet on the grass, then the legs, then the torso, shoulders, hands, face. Electricity crawled over his skin in thin, branching lines before sinking beneath it. His eyes were glowing, not metaphorically, glowing, blue-white light burned behind his pupils, turning his gaze into something too bright to meet. Naruto looked at his hands. The expression on his face was not shock, it was recognition so deep it bordered on boredom. "Oh," he said softly. Mizuki made a sound, a small one. Naruto heard it anyway. He lifted his eyes. Mizuki jumped backward, forming hand signs with shaking fingers. "Stay away from me." A windmill shuriken appeared in his hand. Then another. He threw both. Naruto did not move. His body flashed. The weapons passed through lightning and struck earth. Naruto raised one hand. The clearing became still. Every hair on Uruka's arm stood up. Leaves lifted from the ground, trembling in the air as if the forest itself had taken a breath and forgotten how to release it. Mizuki's eyes widened. "Wait!" Naruto's fingers closed. A bolt struck. It did not fall from the sky. It crossed the clearing from Naruto's hand to Mizuki in a single clean line, faster than thought and quieter than it should have been. A surgical flash. A divine correction. Mizuki flew backward and hit the ground hard. The giant shuriken on the tree behind Naruto cracked down the center. For a few seconds, there was only smoke. Uruka pushed himself up, heart hammering. Mizuki was alive, unconscious, smoking faintly from scorched clothing. His weapons ruined, his body twitching with harmless aftershocks. Naruto had not killed him. Uruka understood that immediately. Somehow that made it more frightening, because the bolt had been precise. A child should not have that much control over power he had discovered seconds ago. Naruto lowered his hand. The glow in his eyes dimmed, though faint sparks still crawled around his fingers. Uruka swallowed. "Naruto?" Naruto turned toward him. Uruka forced himself to stand. His first instinct was to reach for the boy, not as a shinobi, as a teacher, as someone who had just watched a child discover he was something the world would fear even more than it already did. Uruka stepped forward. Naruto watched him approach. There was no panic in him, no tears, no trembling, only that vast calm now lit from within by the storm. Uruka opened his arms. The movement was awkward, painfully human. Naruto looked at the gesture, then stepped aside. Uruka stopped. "You don't need to do that." Naruto said. The words were not cruel. That made them worse. Uruka's arms lowered slowly. Naruto reached down, picked up the headband Uruka had dropped during the fight, and held it for a moment. The metal plate reflected the last of the sparks dancing along his hand. Then he offered it back. Uruka stared at it. Naruto said, "I've passed." Uruka could not speak. The forest around them was marked by smoke, split bark, and silence. Mizuki lay defeated. The stolen scroll rested open on the grass. The boy everyone had failed stood in the center of it, all like the only thing that had ever truly belonged there. Uruka took the headband with shaking fingers. Then, slowly, he tied it around Naruto's forehead. The blue cloth settled against blonde hair. The metal plate caught the moonlight. For a moment, Naruto looked almost like any other newly graduated genin. Almost. Uruka's voice came out rough. "Congratulations." Naruto touched the headband once, testing the weight, then he turned and walked toward the village. "Naruto?" Uruka called. He paused. Uruka wanted to say many things. "I'm sorry, you're not a monster, you're still you, be careful, don't let them make you worse." But every sentence felt too small for the shape of what had just happened. So Uruka said only, "What are you going to do now?" Naruto looked back at him. The moon had risen behind the trees, and for a second, lightning flickered silently in the clouds above him, though the sky had been clear all evening. Naruto's face was calm. "I'm going home," he said. Then he left. Uruka remained in the clearing for a long time. When Anbu arrived minutes later, they found him sitting beside the scroll of sealing, staring at the path Naruto had taken. Mizuki was bound. The scroll was recovered. The forest was secured, but nobody knew what to write in the report. because no one had a category for what Naruto Uzumaki had become. Naruto reached his apartment shortly before midnight. The village was quieter now, not asleep. Konoha never truly slept, but the streets were mostly empty and the windows glowed with warm domestic light. Families eating late meals. Parents scolding children. Shinobi returning from missions. Lives sealed behind walls. Naruto climbed the stairs to his apartment and found a fresh mark carved into his door, not paper this time. A knife had cut the word deep into the wood, demon. Naruto looked at it, then placed his palm against the door. Electricity spread from his hand in thin, delicate lines, filling the carved letters with white light. The wood smoked gently. When he pulled his hand away, the insult was gone, not covered, not scratched out, erased. He entered and closed the door behind him. The room was dark, but he did not turn on the light. He did not need to. His hands glowed, softly at first, then brighter, filling the apartment with pale blue illumination. Shadows bent away from him. The ramen cups shone silver at their edges. The cracked mirror reflected a boy sitting at a table with forbidden knowledge open before him and lightning crawling across his skin like obedient serpents. Naruto had taken several copied pages from the scroll before the Anbu arrived. Not many, enough, sealing arrays. Containment theory. Chakra division. Reinforcement symbols. Old work. Powerful work. Incomplete work. He spread the pages across the table and began to read. The symbols made sense in a way they should not have, not fully, not yet, but parts of them resonated inside him, vibrating against the seal on his stomach. He lifted his shirt and looked down. There it was, the 8-trigram seal. A black pattern curled around his abdomen, quiet and patient, like a lock pretending not to be a door. Naruto traced one line with a glowing fingertip. The apartment vanished. He stood in water. A long corridor stretched before him, dark and flooded ankle-deep. Pipes ran along the walls. Red light pulsed somewhere far away. The air smelled of iron, stone, and old anger. Naruto looked around. So this is inside. His voice echoed. Something moved in the distance. A low rumble rolled through the corridor. Not thunder. A growl. Naruto walked toward it. He found the cage at the end of the hall. Massive bars rose into darkness, each one thicker than a tree trunk. A paper seal hung at the center, marked with symbols that pressed against the air like a command from a dead man. Behind the bars, 2 enormous red eyes opened. The 9 tails stared down at him. For centuries, Kurama had watched humans enter his presence and tremble. They begged. They raged. They demanded power. They cursed him. They feared him. Fear had a smell, even in the mind. Naruto did not smell afraid. He stood before the cage with his hands in his pockets and looked up as if examining an old building. The fox's lips pulled back from enormous teeth. So, Kurama growled, voice shaking the water. You finally know. Naruto tilted his head. You're loud. The silence that followed was absolute. Kurama's eyes narrowed. I am the hatred that nearly destroyed your village. I am the 9 tails. I am power beyond your understanding, brat. Naruto looked at the seal. Power beyond their understanding, maybe. The fox surged forward. The impact of his claws against the bars sent waves racing down the corridor. Red chakra spilled between the gaps like smoke. Do not speak down to me, human. Naruto looked at the chakra. It recoiled slightly where faint electricity sparked over his skin. Interesting. Kurama noticed. His rage paused. Naruto stepped closer to the cage, not too close, just close enough to read. This seal is efficient, Naruto said. Layered, adaptive. It filters your chakra into mine. Kurama stared. You're reading the seal. Yes, I could tear you apart. Not from there. The fox's eyes burned brighter. I will get out one day. Maybe. When I do, I will crush this village. I will grind their bones into dust. I will make them remember what fear truly is. Naruto looked up at him calmly. Will that make you less trapped? Kurama stopped. The question landed strangely, not as pity, not as judgment, as analysis. Naruto continued, You hate them. They hate me. Their hatred did not free you. Mine will not either. Kurama's tails shifted in the darkness. What are you? Naruto looked down at his glowing hand. For the first time all night, he did not answer immediately. I don't know yet. Then he looked back at the fox. But I know what I'm not. Kurama waited despite himself. Naruto's eyes flashed blue-white. I'm not your cage. The words moved through the mindscape like a clean cut. The fox stared at him. Naruto turned to leave. Kurama's voice followed him. Lower now. You think that lightning makes you above everyone? Naruto paused. No, he looked back once. I think I was above them before the lightning. Then the corridor dissolved. Naruto opened his eyes in his apartment. The papers still lay before him. The seal on his stomach faded back into invisibility. Outside, thunder murmured though no storm had been forecast. Naruto sat quietly, processing the night. He had learned several things. The village had lied to him. A beast lived inside him. The Hokage possessed forbidden knowledge worth stealing. His body could become lightning. Uruka Umino cared enough to step in front of a weapon. Mizuki had been useful once. And somewhere inside the cage of his own soul, the 9 tails had gone silent, not defeated, not submissive. Silent in the way a large animal becomes silent when something larger enters the room. Naruto returned to the copied scroll pages. He read until the moon crossed the sky. The glow from his hands never faded. By morning the village would know something had happened. There would be meetings, reports, whispers, fear dressed up as policy. The Hokage would summon him. Uruka would worry. The villagers would invent new names because the old ones had become too small. Naruto turned a page. A ceiling diagram unfolded before him, complex and beautiful. For the first time in years, he felt something close to interest, not happiness, not belonging, interest. The world had hidden doors. That meant the world might not be entirely boring. Naruto raised one glowing hand and watched lightning curl between his fingers. Small, obedient, waiting. Above Konoha, clouds gathered over a clear sky. No one in the village slept well that night. And in the apartment, everyone pitied. A boy read forbidden seals by the light of his own divinity, while the monster in his soul held its breath. Chapter 2. The storm learns its name, the science of lightning, and Uzumaki blood by sunrise. Konoha knew something had happened. Villages like Konoha did not survive by being slow. A shinobi village was a living organism made of whispers, signals, patrol routes, messenger birds, sealed documents, and people trained from childhood to notice when the air changed. Before the market stalls opened, before the academy students began their morning walk, before most civilians understood why the sky had rumbled all night without rain, the shinobi already knew enough to be afraid. Mizuki had been arrested. The scroll of sealing had been stolen and recovered. Uruka Umino had returned from the forest pale, shaken, and unwilling to say more than the official report required. And Naruto Uzumaki had passed his graduation exam. That last fact should have been ordinary. It was not. Naruto woke before the village fully did. He had not slept so much as paused. The copied pages from the scroll of sealing lay spread across his table, sorted into groups. Replication, storage, containment, chakra flow, high-risk forbidden theory. He had arranged them not by the order in which they appeared in the scroll, but by usefulness. Most of the techniques were primitive in concept and dangerous only because the people using them lacked the reserves or discipline to survive failure. That did not make them worthless. Primitive things often became useful once stripped of superstition. Naruto sat cross-legged on the floor, one hand resting against his stomach where the seal slept beneath skin and cloth. The other hand hovered above a sheet of paper. Lightning crawled between his fingers, not wild now, but thin and deliberate. It bent into shapes when he willed it. A line, a circle, a spiral, a seal stroke. Then the paper caught fire. Naruto watched it burn. Too much output, he said. The flame reflected in his eyes until only ash remained. From somewhere deep inside him, behind bars and old rage, Kurama gave a low rumble. You are going to burn down your own den. Naruto did not look up. Then I'll need a better den. The fox did not answer immediately, since the night before Kurama had spoken only twice. Once to threaten, once to insult. Neither had achieved much. Now he watched from inside the cage with the uncomfortable focus of a creature that had lived for centuries, and still found itself looking at something unfamiliar. Naruto picked up another sheet of paper. This one had been stolen from the academy supply closet weeks ago. He placed 2 fingers on it and released a smaller charge. The paper blackened around the edges but did not ignite. Better. You're wasting time, Kurama growled. Naruto drew the first sealing stroke with electricity. The line glowed blue for half a second, then faded. No, Naruto said. I'm learning control. You learned enough control last night. Naruto's eyes moved toward the window. Outside, morning light spread across the village rooftops. People walked beneath him, unaware that every step they took vibrated faintly through the wooden building, through the metal nails, through the old pipes, through the air. He could feel more today, not everything. Not yet, but enough. A neighbor downstairs had an uneven heartbeat. A shinobi on the roof across the street carried 3 kunai, 1 blade cracked near the hilt. A woman in the next building heated water in a dented kettle, and Naruto could feel the metal warming before steam touched the air. The world had become a network of signals. Naruto had spent 12 years thinking people were loud. Now he understood they were louder than they knew. He stood and dressed. The headband Iruka had tied around his forehead lay on the table. Naruto picked it up. The metal plate reflected his face, a symbol. A claim. A village declaring ownership over the children it trained. He tied it around his forehead anyway, not because he belonged to Konoha, because symbols could be useful. When he opened the door, 2 Anbu vanished from the hallway ceiling. They were good, not good enough. Naruto looked up at the empty shadows. I can hear your muscles tense before you move, he said. No response. He walked downstairs. The village was different now, not openly. Open fear took time. Most people did not yet know what shape their fear should wear, so they used the old one. A man at a fruit stall saw Naruto and turned away. A woman pulled her child back. 2 Chunin whispered near the corner, the usual, but beneath it, something new moved, uncertainty. Naruto could feel it in the small delays. The half-second longer before someone looked away. The way a jounin on patrol did not sneer when he passed. The way an old shopkeeper started to refuse him service, then saw the headband, saw Naruto's eyes, and thought better of it. Good, not enough, but good. At the academy training yard, the new genin gathered in clusters. Naruto arrived last. Conversation weakened as he approached. Kiba looked him up and down. So you actually passed? Naruto looked at him. Kiba's dog, Akamaru, tucked himself deeper into Kiba's jacket and whined. That was more intelligent than anything Kiba had said. Yeah, Naruto replied. Kiba frowned. What's that supposed to mean? It means your dog has better instincts than you. A few students laughed nervously. Kiba's face reddened. You want to say that again? Naruto considered him, then looked away. No, the dismissal was worse than an insult. Kiba stepped forward, but Shino placed a hand on his shoulder. Don't, Shino said. Kiba turned. What? Shino's glasses hid his eyes, but his insects had gone very still beneath his coat. Don't, he repeated. Kiba looked from Shino to Naruto. For once he listened. Sasuke stood near the fence, arms crossed. His eyes had not left Naruto since the blonde arrived. Naruto felt the weight of that stare and found it sharper than most. Sasuke's attention had changed. Yesterday it had been superiority. Today it was calculation. Better. Iruka stepped onto the yard with a clipboard in hand. He looked tired, more than tired. A man who had slept but had not escaped his thoughts. Behind him stood 3 jounin. Kakashi Hatake, late despite already being present, one eye curved lazily over his mask. Kurenai Yuhai, calm and observant. Asuma Sarutobi, smoking despite the fact that Iruka had told him not to do it on academy grounds. Iruka began assigning teams. Team 8. Hinata Hyuga, Kiba Inuzuka, Shino Aburame under Kurenai. Team 10. Ino Yamanaka, Shikamaru Nara, Choji Akamichi under Asuma. Then Iruka paused. His eyes flicked toward Naruto. Team 7, he said. Sakura Haruno. Sakura straightened. Sasuke Uchiha. Sakura's face lit up before she could stop it. Sasuke did not react. Naruto Uzumaki. Silence. Sakura's face fell in a way that would have been funny if Naruto had cared. Sasuke's eyes narrowed slightly. Naruto simply nodded once. Their Jounin instructor raised a hand. Yo! Kakashi Hatake looked exactly like a man who had spent his entire life convincing people not to ask questions. Silver hair defying gravity, mask covering most of his face, headband slanted over one eye, orange book in hand. Naruto liked him immediately, not because he seemed strong, because he seemed hidden. Hidden things were worth opening. "Meet me on the roof," Kakashi said. "Eventually." Then he vanished. Sakura stared at the spot where he had been. "Eventually." Sasuke clicked his tongue. Naruto looked up. Kakashi had not gone far. He was on the roof already, reading, pretending not to watch them. Naruto looked back down. Interesting. Sakura turned on him. "What is with you?" Naruto looked at her. Her heartbeat jumped. Sakura took half a step back and hated herself for it. Naruto said nothing. That afternoon, Team 7 sat on the roof. Kakashi arrived 3 hours late to a meeting he had never actually left. Sakura was furious. Sasuke was annoyed. Naruto had spent the time studying the village's electrical patterns from above and found the delay useful. Kakashi waved. "Sorry, a black cat crossed my path, so I had to take the long way." Sakura shouted. Sasuke glared. Naruto said, "No, it didn't." Kakashi's visible eye curved. "Oh." There are no cats with fresh outdoor movement patterns within 3 streets. The only cat nearby is sleeping under the dumpling shop. The air changed. Kakashi looked at him over the top of his book. Sakura blinked. "How would you know that?" Naruto glanced toward the village. "I listened." Sasuke's stare sharpened. Kakashi tucked the book away. "Well," he said lightly, "why don't we introduce ourselves?" Sakura frowned. "Introduce ourselves how? Things you like, things you dislike, dreams for the future, hobbies, that sort of thing." Sakura pointed at him. "You first." Kakashi tilted his head. "Me! I'm Kakashi Hatake. I like many things and dislike many things. My dreams for the future are none of your business. Hobbies, also many things." Sakura groaned. "That told us nothing." "Exactly. Your turn." Sakura talked about Sasuke without saying his name enough to fool no one. Sasuke talked about revenge with the seriousness of a blade being sharpened in the dark. Then everyone looked at Naruto. He was sitting near the edge of the roof, one leg hanging over empty air. Kakashi asked, "And you?" Naruto looked out over Konoha. "I like knowledge that people hide," he said. "I dislike being bored. My dream—" He paused. Sakura expected him to say Hokage. Iruka, had he been there, would have expected it too. Sasuke expected something loud. Kakashi expected something dangerous. Naruto looked down at the village. "My dream is to find the ceiling." Kakashi's eyes stilled. Sakura frowned. "What does that mean?" Naruto did not answer. Kakashi smiled under his mask, but the expression did not reach his eye. "Tomorrow morning, training ground 7, 5 a.m. Don't eat breakfast or you'll throw up." He vanished. Sakura groaned again. Sasuke stood to leave. Naruto remained at the edge of the roof. Sasuke stopped beside him. "What happened in the forest?" Sakura went still. Naruto looked up at him. Sasuke's voice was low. "Mizuki was a Chunin." Iruka came back looking like he'd seen something. "You failed the exam and then passed after stealing a forbidden scroll." "What happened?" Naruto studied him. There it was, not gossip, not fear, need. Sasuke Uchiha wanted to know where the ceiling had moved. Naruto almost answered. Then decided not to. "You'll see," he said. Sasuke's jaw tightened. Naruto stood and walked away. Behind him, the last Uchiha's hands curled into fists. "Good." The bell test began exactly as Kakashi intended. 3 children. 2 bells. 1 lesson about teamwork wrapped in a structure designed to reveal ego, desperation, discipline, and fear. Kakashi stood in the middle of training ground 7 beneath the morning sun. "Your goal is simple," he said, holding up 2 small bells. "Take these from me before noon. Whoever doesn't get a bell fails and goes back to the academy." Sakura swallowed. Sasuke's eyes tracked the bells. Naruto looked at the thin metal shells and felt their shape in the electrical field. Hollow, smooth, attached to Kakashi's waist by thread. Kakashi continued explaining. Naruto stopped listening. The test began. Sakura hid, Sasuke vanished into the trees, Naruto remained where he was. Kakashi opened his orange book. "Aren't you going to hide?" Naruto looked at him. No, Kakashi's eye curved. "Confident?" "Curious." "That's so." Naruto raised one hand. Kakashi's fingers shifted almost imperceptibly. A substitution was prepared. A countermeasure forming, muscles ready. Chakra moving fast, very fast. Naruto smiled faintly. Then the world flashed. A thread of lightning snapped from Naruto's fingers to the bells. Not at Kakashi, at the bells. The metal rang once. Both bells vanished from Kakashi's waist and appeared in Naruto's open palm, pulled along the lightning path as if the air itself had become a wire. Kakashi did not blink until after it happened. For 3 seconds, no one moved. A leaf fell between them. Naruto looked at the bells in his hand, then tossed one to Sasuke's hiding place and one to Sakura's. Sasuke caught his bell by instinct, revealing himself on a branch. Sakura fumbled hers from behind a bush and stared at it. Kakashi slowly closed his book. His visible eye was no longer lazy. Interesting trick. Naruto looked at the empty thread at Kakashi's waist. Interesting test. Kakashi slipped one hand into his pocket. The bells in Sasuke and Sakura's hands vanished in puffs of smoke. Clones. Naruto looked down at his own empty palm. Kakashi held the real bells up. Rule 1. Kakashi said, "Don't assume your first success is real." Naruto's expression did not change, but something in the air brightened. "Better," Naruto said. Then he moved, not with body flicker, not with a jump. He became lightning. Sakura saw only a blue line carve across the field. Sasuke's Sharingan had not awakened, but his eyes still tried to follow. They failed. Kakashi moved on instinct. He dropped through the ground, appearing behind Naruto's original position with an Earth-style feint already prepared. Naruto was not there. Electricity gathered behind him. Kakashi twisted. The bells jerked at his waist. This time he cut the thread himself and caught them before they could fly. A second Naruto appeared above him, then a third. Shadow clones, each crackling faintly. Kakashi's eye widened, not because of the clones, because each clone carried an electrical charge strong enough to interfere with chakra sensing. One clone struck. Kakashi substituted. Another clone was already waiting where he appeared. Kakashi ducked under a lightning-coated fist, swept the clone's legs, and dispersed it. Memory returned to the original Naruto instantly. So physical impact destabilizes the clone faster when charged, Naruto said from across the field. Kakashi heard him. The boy was collecting data mid-fight. That was never a good sign. Sasuke landed in the clearing, anger overcoming caution. "Don't interfere," he snapped. Naruto glanced at him. Kakashi noticed the opening and moved. For one moment. He was simply faster than both of them. He appeared behind Naruto with a kunai at the boy's throat. "Lesson 2, Kakashi said quietly. "Observation doesn't replace experience." The kunai touched Naruto's skin, then passed through lightning. Kakashi's hand went numb to the wrist. Naruto reformed 3 steps away. "Experience collected," he said. Kakashi flexed his fingers. Sakura remained hidden behind the bush, clutching dirt and trying to understand how the morning had turned into this. Sasuke's breathing was uneven, not from exertion, from fury. He launched himself at Kakashi, fire chakra building in his throat. "Fire style, great fireball jutsu!" A sphere of flame roared across the field. Kakashi dodged cleanly. Naruto watched the fire pass. Heat, expansion, ionized air, fuel, chakra conversion, primitive, beautiful in its way. Sasuke landed panting. Kakashi looked between them. "All right," he said. "Enough," the field quieted. Sakura emerged slowly. Kakashi held up both bells. "None of you get these." Sakura deflated. Sasuke snarled. Naruto looked mildly interested. "But," Kakashi continued, "you pass." Sakura blinked. "We what?" "The point of the exercise is teamwork." "Naruto gave both of you the bells when he thought he had them." Sasuke stiffened. "I didn't ask for help." "No," Kakashi said. "That's why you needed it." Sasuke looked away. Kakashi's gaze shifted to Naruto. "And you?" Naruto looked at him. "You used your teammates as part of the win condition, not because you cared whether they passed." Sakura flinched. Kakashi said it lightly, but the edge was there. Naruto did not deny it. Does motivation matter if the result is correct? He asked. Kakashi's visible eye held his. Yes, he said. Naruto considered that, then nodded once. Not agreement, storage. Kakashi sighed. This is going to be a troublesome team. Several miles away in the Hawkage Tower, Hiruzen Sarutobi read Kakashi's first report twice, then a third time. He removed his pipe from his mouth and stared at the words. Subject demonstrated electrical transformation comparable to no recorded lightning release technique. Physical attacks appear ineffective during transformed state. Can manipulate metal through conductive discharge. Can sense living organisms through unknown mechanism. Displays no emotional instability. Displays no desire for approval. Displays high curiosity toward sealing theory. Hiruzen lowered the paper. That final line worried him most. Power could be monitored, anger could be redirected, loneliness could be softened, but curiosity without fear. That had broken more worlds than hatred ever had. Days passed. Team 7 took missions, not great ones, not glorious ones, weeding gardens, catching lost pets, escorting minor deliveries, painting fences, the village's method of teaching fresh genin humility. Sakura complained, Sasuke endured. Naruto studied. Every task revealed systems, how civilians interacted with shinobi, how mission payments moved through the village, which families received faster responses, which districts had older infrastructure, which rooftops held hidden watchers, which seals protected which doors. The village was not a family, it was machinery, and machinery could be understood. On the 7th D-rank mission, Naruto found the cat before anyone else because the metal bell around its neck sang against his awareness from 3 blocks away. On the 9th, he repaired a farmer's irrigation gate by sending a tiny pulse through the rusted latch, heating it just enough to loosen without melting it. On the 12th, he stood in the rain and discovered he could feel every droplet before it touched his skin. That night, he began testing properly. Training Ground 44 was not yet assigned to the Chunin exams. At 3 in the morning, it was empty enough. Naruto stood in the center of a clearing and placed a stolen academy stopwatch on a tree stump. Test 1. Maximum continuous electrical output held for 60 seconds. He raised both hands. The first 10 seconds lit the clearing. The next 20 burned the grass. By 40, the air had turned sharp with ozone, and every insect nearby fled or dropped silent. By 60, the ground beneath him had become a blackened circle 50 meters wide. Naruto lowered his hands. His breathing was steady. His pulse had not risen significantly. Interesting. Kurama stirred. You are making yourself visible. Naruto looked at the crater. That was the point. To whom? Naruto smiled faintly. Everyone paying attention. On a distant rooftop, an Anbu observer decided not to mention that his hands were shaking when he wrote the report. Test 2 happened 2 nights later. Full-body transformation, distance trial. Naruto stood at Konoha's northern perimeter just before midnight. He could feel the wall's protective seals buzzing softly. They recognized chakra, motion, hostile intent, foreign signatures, useful barriers. Limited imagination. Naruto became lightning. The world changed. There was no running. Running was for things with weight. He crossed the wall as current, leapt from metal nail to rooftop gutter, from gutter to wire, from wire into open air, from open air into the charged skin of the world. Konoha became lines and pulses beneath him. Every building a shape, every person a flicker, every hidden weapon a point of recognition. He circled the entire village before the thunder of his departure reached the first guard post. When he reformed at his starting point, the stopwatch in his clone's hand had barely moved. Naruto looked at the number, then at the sky. Too slow, he thought, but promising. Test 3 came after he understood that hearing was the wrong word. It was not sound. Sound was clumsy. Sound arrived late. This was presence, electromagnetic awareness, nervous systems, muscle signals, heart rhythms, metal, heat, motion. The world was filled with tiny declarations of existence. Naruto sat cross-legged in his apartment, closed his eyes, and stopped listening with his ears. At first he felt the building, pipes, nails, hinges, the slow cooling of a stove downstairs, then the street. 23 people, 2 dogs, 1 cat, 3 concealed kunai, a loose wire in a signboard, then the block. Then the district. His breathing slowed, the village opened, heartbeats appeared in his mind like stars, hundreds, thousands, then so many that counting became less useful than pattern. Konoha lived. 80,000 people, give or take the patrols outside the walls, each one carrying a private rhythm. Fear, sleep, anger, hunger, illness, desire, deception. The body translated everything into signals. Naruto sat very still. For the first time he understood why gods became distant. Closeness at this scale did not create affection, it created management problems. He found Uruka's heartbeat near the academy, tired, uneven. Awake too late, he found Kakashi's, slow and controlled on a rooftop not far from Naruto's building. Expected? He found Sasuke's, burning sharp and restless in the Uchiha district. Interesting. He found Hiruzen's in the Hawkage Tower, old but steady, surrounded by 4 anbu and a mountain of paper. Then deeper, lower, inside himself, behind the seal, Kurama's presence was not a heartbeat. It was a storm forced into a room. Naruto opened his eyes. I can feel all of them. Kurama's voice came low. Then you understand why I hate humans. Naruto considered that. No, he said. I understand why you found them exhausting. The fox gave a sound that might have been a laugh. Their first C-rank mission came sooner than expected. Tazuna, bridge builder of the land of waves, smelled like alcohol, river wood, fear, and lies. Naruto knew he was lying before he finished insulting them. The mission rank was false. The man's heartbeat spiked every time bandits were mentioned. His eyes moved toward exits. His hands trembled when he thought no one was watching. Kakashi accepted the mission anyway. Naruto knew why. Kakashi wanted to see what happened when controlled variables disappeared. Wave country was wet, poor, and afraid. Mist clung to the roads. Trees leaned over paths. The air smelled of salt, mud, and desperation. Civilians lowered their eyes when strangers passed. Workers moved like people who expected punishment for standing upright. Naruto found it ugly, not because of poverty, because of inefficiency. Oppression, he decided, was wasteful when done badly. The demon brothers attacked exactly as they had planned. Chains, poison, ambush from a puddle. Naruto felt them before the puddle moved. He let the attack begin because Kakashi did. The chains tore through Kakashi's substitution. Sakura screamed. Sasuke moved well. Naruto watched. When one brother lunged toward him, Naruto turned his head slightly. The attacker's metal gauntlet sparked. He dropped screaming, arm numb and useless. The second brother froze. Naruto looked at him. Continue if you have a second plan. He did not. Kakashi reappeared and restrained them. His eye rested on Naruto for a moment longer than necessary. Later, when Tazuna confessed the truth about Gato, poverty, and the bridge, Sakura reacted with sympathy. Sasuke with annoyance. Kakashi with resignation. Naruto looked at the old bridge builder. You lied because you lacked resources, he said. Tazuna swallowed. I did what I had to. No, Naruto said. You did what you thought might work. The difference made Tazuna look away. Zabuza Mamachi arrived in mist and murder. The executioner's blade spun through the air and buried itself in a tree. Kakashi ordered everyone down. Naruto did not duck until after the blade passed above him. A man appeared on the sword's handle, tall and bandaged, presence heavy with practiced violence, demon of the mist. Naruto studied him. This one was different from Mizuki. Mizuki had been small cruelty pretending to be clever. Zabuza was violence shaped by a system that had used him correctly. Kakashi lifted his headband. The Sharingan opened. The battle began. Water clones. Mist. Silent killing. Kakashi trapped in a water prison. Sasuke freezing under pressure. Sakura standing guard over Tazuna with kunai trembling in hand. Canon would have made this a moment of teamwork and courage. Here, Naruto waited, not from fear, from measurement. Zabuza's technique was effective. Environmental control. Psychological pressure. Vision denial. Water-based mobility. The sword was heavy but well used. Kakashi was better, but trapped. Sasuke threw Shuriken. Naruto created a shadow clone. They performed a strategy close enough to the original that Kakashi would later recognize it. But when the opening appeared, Naruto improved it. He became lightning inside the mist. For Zabuza, it was like watching the weather develop a grudge. The water prison collapsed as Naruto's electrical state passed through it, shocking the chakra structure apart without touching Kakashi directly. Zabuza jumped back. Too late. Naruto reformed in front of him, one glowing hand inches from his chest. Kakashi shouted, "Naruto, wait!" Naruto waited. Not because Kakashi commanded it, because he wanted to see what Zabuza would do. Zabuza stared at him. The demon of the mist, who had killed classmates before most children learned multiplication, looked into Naruto's glowing eyes and understood something with a soldier's clarity. This boy was not trying to intimidate him. That meant the power was not performance. Zabuza smiled slowly beneath his bandages. "Well," he said, "that's new." Then needles struck his neck. Haku arrived wearing the mask of a hunter nin and the heartbeat of someone grieving in advance. Naruto heard the lie. He allowed it. Kakashi did too, though for different reasons. When Haku carried Zabuza away, Naruto watched the trees long after they vanished. Sasuke stepped beside him. "You knew?" "Yes." "Why let them go?" Naruto looked at the mist. They weren't finished being useful. Sasuke's eyes narrowed. Sakura behind them shivered. The bridge battle came days later. Haku's ice mirrors rose around Sasuke and Naruto in a glittering dome. Cold, reflective, chakra reinforced. Elegant, Naruto appreciated elegant things. Haku moved between mirrors at impossible speed, needles flashing from every direction. Sasuke fought harder than he had ever fought. His body adapted under pressure. His eyes strained. His anger sharpened into something almost beautiful. Then a needle struck his shoulder, another his leg, another grazed his cheek. Naruto stood in the center of the dome, watching the mirrors. Haku's masked reflection appeared in all of them. "You should surrender," Haku said gently. "I don't want to kill you." Naruto looked at him. "You couldn't." Haku's sadness deepened. He attacked. Naruto became lightning. The mirrors contained reflections. They did not contain current. He passed through the nearest mirror as if it were thin air. Not breaking it at first, simply moving through the microscopic gaps in its structure, turning the ice from prison into pathway. Then he expanded. Every mirror lit from within. For one dazzling second, the dome became a lantern. Then it shattered outward. Haku landed hard on the bridge, mask cracked, needles falling from numb fingers. Sasuke stared. He had been fighting for his life. Naruto had been testing material properties. That was the moment something inside Sasuke changed. Not awakened, not yet, but changed. Zabuza saw it from across the bridge. So did Kakashi. So did Gato, arriving with mercenaries like a man bringing insects to a thunderstorm. The rest unfolded with less blood than it might have. Gato laughed. Zabuza understood betrayal. Haku tried to rise. Naruto looked at the gathered mercenaries. There were many of them, enough to think numbers mattered. He lifted one hand. Lightning struck the bridge, not people. The stone beneath the mercenaries cracked in a perfect line. Weapons flew from hands as metal heated, sparked, and leapt away. Men fell backward screaming without being seriously harmed, suddenly aware that the battlefield itself had rejected them. Gato dropped his cane. Naruto appeared in front of him as a flash of blue. The crime lord looked up into glowing eyes. "Leave," Naruto said. Gato left. So did every man who had followed him. Zabuza watched them flee, then looked at Naruto. "You're letting me live?" Naruto turned. "You haven't annoyed me." Zabuza stared, then he laughed, not loudly, not happily, but honestly. Haku lowered his head. Kakashi said nothing. The bridge was completed. Tazuna named it the Great Naruto Bridge. Naruto found this unnecessary. When they returned to Konoha, people expected stories. Sakura had too many and understood too few. Sasuke said nothing. Kakashi submitted a report that was somehow both detailed and deeply incomplete. Naruto went home. That night he entered his mindscape deliberately. The corridor was waiting, so was Kurama. The fox opened one eye. You used my chakra in wave. Naruto walked through the water toward the cage, a small amount. You didn't ask. Naruto stopped before the bars. Do you ask the river before using water? Kurama's lips curled. I am not a river. No, Naruto said. You're a reservoir with opinions. For a long moment, Kurama stared. Then the fox began laughing. It was not friendly, but it was real. The sound shook the corridor. You arrogant little spark. Naruto looked up at him. You keep calling me little. You are 12. Temporarily. Kurama's laughter faded. The words sat between them temporarily. Humans rarely thought that way. Children never did. Naruto studied the seal again. Your chakra burns differently from mine, obviously. It carries emotion more efficiently. Rage, mostly. Kurama's eyes narrowed. Careful! I don't need rage to use it. You think that makes you special? Naruto looked at the red chakra moving behind the bars. No, it makes you useful. The fox surged forward, teeth pressing near the cage. I am not your tool. Naruto met his gaze. Then become something else. Silence, the water dripped. Kurama's tails shifted slowly in the darkness. What do you want? Naruto Uzumaki. It was the first time the fox had used his name. Naruto looked toward the seal, then beyond it, as if seeing the village through walls, through bodies, through night. I want to know what I am. Kurama watched him, and after that, Naruto's eyes glowed faintly. I'll decide what everything else is. The next week passed under surveillance. Anbu followed him openly now, thinking openness made the act less insulting. Hiruzen summoned him once, asked careful questions, received careful answers, and offered access to basic Uzumaki records under supervision. Naruto accepted. The Hokage thought it was a concession. Naruto knew it was a beginning. Every evening he trained. Lightning release was the wrong term for what he did. Lightning release used chakra to imitate lightning. Naruto was not imitating. He was translating himself. His body could become energy because some deeper part of him remembered being energy. The chakra system did not create the transformation. It permitted it, like a door opening for a king, because refusing would be absurd. He named the awareness mantra after a word that came to him in a dream of white clouds, golden bells, and a moon too close to the earth. Mantra was not merely sensing, it was authority through awareness. A god should know his domain. The night before Chunin exam registration opened, Naruto climbed onto the roof of his apartment and looked up. The sky was clear. The upper atmosphere hummed beyond the reach of ordinary perception. Vast, charged, waiting, the world above the world. Naruto raised one hand. In the Hokage Tower, Hiruzen looked up from a letter to the daimyo. In the Uchiha district, Sasuke sat awake on his floor and felt the hair on his arms rise. In the Hyuga compound, Hinata turned toward her window. In Training Ground 7, Kakashi stopped reading. Naruto sent a single bolt into the sky. It rose silently at first, thin and bright, piercing the darkness above Konoha. Then it widened as it climbed, branching into the upper air like a tree made of white fire. For one moment, the heavens answered. Lightning flashed across a cloudless sky. Thunder rolled over the village so deeply that windows trembled in their frames. Naruto stood on the roof, hand still raised, eyes closed. The bolt returned something, not power, recognition. The sky was not empty, it was a system. The village below was a system. His body was a system. The seal was a system. Kurama was a system. Everything that existed could be understood, measured, altered, ruled. Naruto lowered his hand. Inside the Hokage Tower, Hiruzen Sarutobi stared at the clear sky and began writing letters he did not know how to finish. To Jiraiya, to the daimyo, to no one. How did one describe a boy who had stopped asking to be seen because he had discovered he could see everything? How did one warn the world that Naruto Uzumaki was no longer becoming a shinobi in the village system? He was becoming weather, and weather did not ask permission. Chapter 3. Mantra and the Mathematics of God's Total Sensory Dominance. The Chunin exams arc. The Chunin exams were supposed to measure children. That was the first lie. Naruto understood it before he even entered the building. The academy graduation test had measured obedience. D-rank missions had measured patience. The Bell test had measured teamwork, or at least Kakashi's preferred definition of it, but the Chunin exams were something else entirely. The village called them a promotion trial. The instructors called them an opportunity. The civilians called them entertainment. They were none of those things. They were a controlled battlefield dressed up as a tournament, a political theater where nations showed off weapons shaped like children. Naruto stood outside the examination building with Team 7 and watched genin from other villages arrive in clusters. Sand, sound, rain, grass, leaf. Each group wore its symbol openly, but the bodies beneath the symbols told more honest stories. A tall sand boy carried a wrapped shape on his back and smelled of oil, wood, and hidden mechanisms. A girl beside him moved like wind over glass, balanced and watchful. And then there was the red-haired one, Gaara. Naruto did not know his name yet, but Mantra found him immediately. Most people were noise. Gaara was pressure. His heartbeat was too controlled for a child. His breathing too quiet. His chakra too close to the surface, like a beast sleeping beneath sand with one eye open. Around him, other genin unconsciously kept distance. Even his teammates did. Naruto looked at him. Gaara looked back. For a second, the courtyard fell away, no words passed between them. No challenge, no greeting, only recognition, not friendship, not similarity, a boundary being drawn. Gaara's eyes were ringed with sleepless shadow, pale green and empty in the way deserts were empty not because nothing lived there, but because everything that did had learned to hide. Naruto tilted his head slightly. Gaara's sand shifted inside the gourd on his back. Sasuke noticed the movement and followed Naruto's gaze. "Who is that?" "Someone full," Naruto said. Sakura frowned. "Full of what?" Naruto did not answer. The answer was obvious to anyone listening correctly. Something inhuman, something trapped, something waiting. Inside Naruto's mindscape, Kurama stirred. "That one reeks of Shukaku." Naruto's eyes remained on Gaara. "One tail." "Yes, unstable, insane," Kurama corrected. "Loud, petty, weak." Naruto almost smiled. "You dislike him." "I dislike most things. That's inefficient." Kurama growled and withdrew. Kakashi arrived late, as always, though Naruto had felt him circling the building for 20 minutes before he chose to appear. "Yo," Kakashi said. "Ready?" Sakura gave him a look. "You could have told us this exam was this intense." "I could have," Kakashi agreed. Sasuke's attention remained on the other genin. Naruto looked at the building. Hidden inside were dozens of heartbeats. Some calm, some afraid, some excited enough to be stupid. Several jounin, more chunin. A few signatures concealed badly behind transformation techniques. And one presence that did not belong, thin, cold, coiled, a heartbeat pretending to be human. Naruto's eyes narrowed faintly. Kakashi saw it. "What is it?" Naruto looked toward the upper floors. "Someone is wearing skin incorrectly." Kakashi's visible eye sharpened. Before he could ask more, Naruto walked inside. The first stage was a written exam. The room was filled with genin trying not to look nervous and failing in different ways. Some talked, some threatened, some bragged, some watched too carefully. The proctor, Ibiki Morino, stood at the front with the presence of a man who had built an entire personality out of pressure. Naruto found him more interesting than most. Ibiki explained the rules. 10 questions, points deducted for wrong answers. Cheating caught by proctors would cost points. Fail badly, and the entire team failed. The final question carried unknown stakes. Sakura understood the academic challenge immediately. Sasuke understood the hidden test after 30 seconds. Naruto understood it before Ibiki finished speaking. The exam was not about knowledge. It was about information acquisition under surveillance. The questions were too advanced for genin. Therefore, cheating was expected. Therefore, the real measurement was stealth, composure, and team risk management. Simple. Naruto looked at the paper. He could answer 4 questions through logic, 2 through ceiling theory, 1 through electrical principles, and the rest by listening, not to voices, to pencils. The room became a map. Each graphite tip scratched differently depending on hand pressure, writing angle, and confidence. The smartest examinees wrote with smooth rhythm. The planted chunin wrote with deliberate consistency. Nervous children paused too often. Arrogant ones pressed too hard. Naruto closed his eyes. He did not need to see. Question 1, 3 seats ahead, a planted chunin wrote the answer. Naruto heard the pencil drag across paper and translated motion into symbols. Question 2, to his left, a rain genin copied from a mirror hidden in his sleeve. Naruto ignored him and listened to the proctor at the back mark his own answer key. Question 3, Sakura's pencil moved quickly, cleanly. Confidently, useful, Naruto filled in the page. Beside him, Sasuke noticed Naruto writing without looking around. Suspicion, irritation, need. Sasuke activated his Sharingan for brief moments, copying hand movements across the room. It was clever. Limited but clever, Naruto approved. When the 10th question came, Ibuki's voice changed. That was the real test. Stay and risk permanent genin status if wrong, leave and fail immediately. Fear bloomed across the room. Naruto felt it in heartbeats, sweat, muscle tension, tiny electrical storms beneath skin. People were fascinating when cornered. Most of them imagined choices as doors. They did not understand that some rooms were designed with no exit except decision. One by one, genin quit. Naruto sat still. Sakura trembled but stayed. Sasuke stayed because pride had fused with purpose somewhere inside him. Ibuki's gaze landed on Naruto. Naruto looked back. The proctor's face was scarred, controlled, built for intimidation. Naruto's was calm. Ibuki held the silence a moment longer. Then he smiled. You pass. Relief detonated through the room. Naruto found the sound unpleasant. Then the window exploded inward, and Anko Mitarashi arrived like a thrown knife wearing a grin. The second stage began before anyone had time to become comfortable. The Forest of Death. That was what they called it. Naruto stood before the enormous fenced boundary and looked through the trees. Old growth, predators, concealed water sources, ruined structures, insects, traps from previous exams, human fear layered into the soil from years of students being tested beyond their maturity. A useful environment. Anko explained the rules with cheerful cruelty. Teams received one scroll, either heaven or earth. They had to acquire the opposite scroll and reach the tower within 5 days. Injury and death were possible. Consent forms had already been signed. Sakura went pale. Sasuke looked focused. Naruto looked at the forest and began counting, not trees, signatures. The forest was crowded, not just with genin. There were proctors at the edges, concealed observers, hidden barriers, and something deeper inside that carried the same wrongness he had felt in the exam building. The skin wearer. When the gates opened, Team 7 entered. The forest swallowed them. For the first hour, Sasuke led. Naruto allowed it. Sasuke was skilled in ordinary movement. He chose paths with cover, checked for traps, and maintained distance from obvious ambush lines. Sakura followed well enough, though her breathing betrayed nerves. She watched both boys too much and the forest too little. Naruto walked behind them with his hands in his pockets, mantra spread outward. At 10 meters, he felt insects. At 50, birds. At 100, wire traps and kunai buried beneath leaves. At 500, 3 teams moving badly. At 1 kilometer, Gaara's pressure passing through the forest like a silent desert storm. At farther distances, the wrong presence moved closer. Naruto stopped. Sasuke noticed instantly. What? Naruto looked into the trees. We're being approached. Sakura gripped a kunai. By who? Something old pretending to be young. The air turned cold. A grass ninja appeared on a branch ahead, long hair hanging around a face that smiled too smoothly. Sasuke dropped into a stance. Sakura stepped back. Naruto looked at the body. The heartbeat was wrong, too slow. The nervous system had echoes like too many bodies had left fingerprints inside the same skin. Chakra coiled in layers, serpentine, patient, hungry. The grass ninja's tongue slid over their lips. My, they said. What interesting prey. Naruto stared. No, the grass ninja blinked. Naruto continued. Prey implies a food chain. You're using the wrong model. Sasuke glanced at him sharply. The grass ninja's smile widened. "Oh, and what model would you prefer?" Naruto's eyes glowed faintly. "Inspection." The grass ninja laughed. Then killing intent flooded the forest. Sakura froze. Sasuke stiffened, body locking as the illusion of death pressed against his mind. Naruto felt the killing intent pass over him like warm air, emotional pressure. Chakra-laced, designed to trigger instinctive paralysis. Crude, effective on children, not on weather. The grass ninja's eyes narrowed. "You're not afraid?" Naruto tilted his head. "Should I be?" The body split, not physically at first. The mouth opened too wide, and a pale figure emerged from within, shedding skin like a costume. Orochimaru revealed himself beneath the disguise, smiling with all the elegance of a blade being drawn slowly. Sasuke's breath caught. Sakura whispered, "Who is that?" Naruto answered, "A collector." Orochimaru's golden eyes brightened. How perceptive! He moved. To Sakura and Sasuke, Orochimaru disappeared. To Naruto, he crossed space as a pattern of muscle signals, chakra acceleration and electrical displacement, fast, very fast, but present. Orochimaru struck for Sasuke. Naruto did not stop him. Sasuke tried to dodge. He failed. Orochimaru's neck extended unnaturally, fangs aimed for the Uchiha's shoulder. Naruto watched. The bite landed. Sasuke screamed as the curse mark burned into him. Sakura shouted his name. Orochimaru withdrew, satisfaction gleaming in his eyes. Naruto raised one hand before Sakura could move. "Don't touch him yet." Sakura stared at him in horror. Yes." Naruto stepped closer to Sasuke, who had fallen to his knees, clutching his neck. Black marks crawled across his skin like spilled ink. Naruto observed the process carefully. Foreign chakra insertion, seal-based infection, pain-triggered activation, emotional amplification, predatory compatibility with already unstable ambition, interesting design, messy execution. Orochimaru watched him watching. "You allowed that?" Naruto looked up. "Yes." Sasuke, shaking on the ground, heard the word. His eyes widened with fury and betrayal. Sakura looked as if Naruto had become a stranger. Naruto did not explain. Orochimaru laughed softly. "You are fascinating, Naruto-kun." The way he said the name made the forest feel contaminated. Naruto turned fully toward him. "You came here for Sasuke?" "For now." "You intend to invade Konoha?" Orochimaru's smile did not move, but his pulse shifted. Naruto continued, "Your body is unstable. You hide your true chakra beneath layers of stolen flesh. You're interested in immortality because death has become a technical problem to you instead of a mystery. You came to mark Sasuke as a future vessel." Sakura stopped breathing. Sasuke stared. Orochimaru's eyes opened slightly wider. For the first time, his amusement became focus. "How much do you know?" Naruto's gaze remained calm, enough to be disappointed. Something dark moved across Orochimaru's face. He attacked Naruto. Snakes erupted from his sleeves. A blade slid from his mouth. Chakra thickened the air. The strike was meant to test, capture, and cut all at once. Naruto became lightning. The sword passed through empty brightness. The snakes convulsed as current traveled backward through chakra pathways. Orochimaru released them instantly and retreated to a branch, one hand smoking faintly. Naruto reformed below. "Your nervous system is strange," Naruto said, "but still conductive." Orochimaru looked at his hand, then smiled, not because he was amused, because he was afraid and enjoyed discovering the sensation. "What are you?" Naruto's eyes brightened. "Not yours." A bolt struck the branch beside Orochimaru's head, not close enough to kill. Close enough to erase bark, sap, and illusion of control. Naruto's voice stayed pleasant. "If you enter Konoha during your invasion, I'll find you through mantra at any range. I'll separate your body into useful particles and leave your ambitions behind as an unpleasant smell." The forest went silent. Orochimaru stared down at him. A Sannin, a legend, a monster who had survived wars, forbidden techniques, body theft, and the moral collapse of ordinary humanity. For the first time in decades, he looked at a child and recalculated, then he laughed. Low, soft, real. Wonderful. Naruto raised his hand again. Orochimaru vanished into earth and shadow before the bolt fired. The strike left a smoking hole where he had stood. Sakura rushed to Sasuke. "Naruto, let her now." Sasuke shoved her hand away and glared at Naruto, black marks still trembling along his skin. "You let him do this?" "Yes." "Why?" Naruto looked at the curse mark. "Because removing his interest in you would not remove his plan. Now the plan has shape." Sasuke's voice shook. "You used me." Naruto looked at him. "Yes." Sakura slapped him, or tried to. Her hand passed through lightning and snapped back with a harmless static shock. She gasped, clutching her fingers. Naruto looked at her, not angry, not apologetic. Sakura's eyes filled with tears of frustration. "You're horrible," she whispered. Naruto considered that, then looked away. Maybe, for reasons he did not understand, that answer stayed with him longer than her anger. The rest of the forest of death passed differently after that. Sasuke survived the curse mark's fever. Sakura guarded him with desperate determination. Naruto did not sleep. He sat beside them and kept mantras spread through the forest, tracking threats long before they arrived. Sound Genin came. Naruto let Sakura fight first, not out of cruelty. Out of curiosity, she surprised him. Cornered, exhausted, frightened, Sakura cut her hair to escape a grip and fought with a kind of raw human stubbornness Naruto had not previously assigned value to. It was inefficient. It was also persistent. When the sound team moved to finish her, Sasuke's curse mark flared. Dark chakra crawled over him, his rage sharpened into something ugly. Before he could break the sound genin completely, Naruto placed one glowing hand on his shoulder. The marks stopped spreading. Sasuke froze. The electrical pulse Naruto released did not remove the curse mark. It interrupted its activation for 3 seconds, shocking Sasuke's chakra system into temporary order. Sasuke collapsed to one knee, gasping. Naruto looked at him. "Not yet," Sasuke snarled. "Don't command me, then stop being easy to command." The words landed harder than a punch. The sound genin fled after Naruto disabled their weapons and left them conscious enough to understand mercy had not been involved. Team 7 reached the tower with both scrolls. Kakashi was waiting outside, though he pretended he had just arrived. His visible eye moved from Sakura's bandaged hands to Sasuke's neck to Naruto's calm face. "What happened?" Sakura looked away. Sasuke said nothing. Naruto answered. "Orochimaru marked Sasuke and confirmed the invasion." Kakashi went very still. For once, he did not make a joke. The preliminary matches were held underground beneath the tower. Too many teams had passed. Too many weapons had survived. Too many village interests needed sorting before the public finals. The room smelled of sweat, blood, dust, metal, and ambition. Naruto stood with Team 7 on the upper balcony while Hiruzen explained the next stage. Kakashi remained beside Sasuke, sealing formula already prepared for the curse mark. Sakura stood slightly apart from Naruto. That was new. She no longer shouted at him. She avoided him. Naruto found that more noticeable. Across the room, Gaara stood with his arms crossed, sand shifting faintly in his gourd. Their eyes met again. Kurama growled deep inside. "Shukaku's brat is looking at you." "Yes. Don't let that thing near your sleep." "I don't sleep much." "That explains your personality." Naruto ignored him. The matchboard flickered. Names appeared. Sasuke fought Yoroi. He won, though the curse mark complicated movement. Naruto watched the way Sasuke restrained himself under Kakashi's warning. Pride fighting hunger. Good, not stable, but good. Sakura fought Ino. Their match was strange, human, messy. Built on history Naruto did not care to fully decode. Rivalry, friendship, insecurity, identity. They ended in a draw, exhausted and unconscious. Naruto watched Sakura fall and felt something faintly uncomfortable. Not guilt, not quite. A recognition that she had been brave without calculation. That seemed dangerous in a different way. Then the board changed again. Naruto Uzumaki vs. Neji Hyuga. A murmur moved through the room. Neji stepped forward with perfect posture and cold eyes. Hinata, watching from the balcony, went pale. Naruto entered the arena. Neji studied him with Byakugan activated. Veins rose around his eyes. You should withdraw, Neji said. Naruto looked at him. Why? Because fate has already decided the outcome. Naruto's head tilted slightly. That was possibly the most irritating sentence he had heard all week. Neji continued, voice calm and sharp. People are born into roles: genius, failure, main family, branch family, Hokage, outcast. No amount of struggle changes what is carved into a person's destiny. Naruto stared at him, then looked up at the balcony where Hinata stood very still, then back at Neji. You believe this? I know it. Naruto's eyes cooled. No, he said. You were taught it by people who benefited from your obedience. The room went quiet. Neji's expression hardened. You know nothing of the Hyuga. I know your forehead seal has control architecture built into it. I know your chakra spikes every time you mention the main family. I know you call slavery fate because it hurts less than calling it slavery. Hinata's hand flew to her mouth. Several Hyuga in the observation area stiffened. Neji's calm cracked. You dare, he moved, fast, precise, beautiful. The gentle fist was not brute force, it was architecture. A style built to attack the chakra network directly, closing tenketsu, disabling flow, turning the body's internal system against itself. Neji struck Naruto's arm, then his ribs, then his shoulder. Naruto allowed 3 hits. Each one sent delicate pressure into his chakra pathways. He recorded the sensation. Neji stepped back, eyes narrowed. What are you? Naruto flexed his hand, still deciding. Neji attacked again. This time, Naruto became lightning. Neji's fingers passed through empty current. The Hyuga stumbled as static crawled up his arm. Naruto reformed behind him. Your style assumes the opponent's body remains a body. Neji spun, activating rotation. A dome of chakra burst around him. Naruto watched the technique expand. Efficient defense. Complete coverage. Chakra expelled from all tenketsu. Naruto touched the outside of the rotation with one finger. Lightning entered the spinning chakra shell, not breaking it, riding it. The dome flashed blue-white. Neji's eyes widened as his own defense became a circuit. Naruto withdrew the charge before it caused permanent harm, but the rotation collapsed instantly. Neji fell to one knee, breathing hard. The proctor raised a hand. Winner, Naruto Uzumaki. No applause came at first. The silence was too confused. Then someone clapped once, then again. Soon the room filled with uncertain applause from people who did not know whether they had witnessed genius, blasphemy, or a warning. Naruto looked down at Neji. Fate is just a pattern no one has interrupted yet. Neji glared up at him, humiliated and shaken. Naruto walked away. Hinata watched him return to the balcony. For once, she did not blush. She looked afraid for him, not of him, for him. Naruto found that distinction difficult to place. The finals were scheduled 1 month later. Training began. Jiraiya arrived in the village 3 days after Hiruzen's second letter. He came with white hair, a loud laugh, a dramatic pose, and a personality built to distract people from noticing how dangerous he was. Naruto noticed immediately the man carried sadness under the performance, regret, intelligence, lust, unfortunately, spycraft, battlefield memory, sealing knowledge, and the specific spiritual weight of someone who had stood beside legends and survived the cost. Jiraiya found Naruto on the Hokage monument, sitting on the 4th stone head and looking over Konoha. The Sannin landed behind him. So you're the kid who's been scaring old monkeys into writing me urgent letters. Naruto did not turn. You're Jiraiya. That's right, the great Toad Sage, legendary Sannin, super handsome author of questionable books. Jiraiya paused, then grinned. You raid them. No. Kakashi's heartbeat changes when he does. Jiraiya stared, then slowly lowered his pose. Well, he said, that's unsettling. Naruto finally looked at him. You know Uzumaki's ceiling. Jiraiya's expression sharpened beneath the humor. I know some. You know my father's work. The air froze. Jiraiya's heartbeat skipped. Naruto heard it. He stood. The two looked at each other. Jiraiya realized then that no one had told Naruto, not yet, but the boy had placed enough pieces together to know there were missing ones shaped like the 4th Hokage. Naruto? Not now, Naruto said. Jiraiya closed his mouth. Naruto looked back at the village. You're here to train me. Something like that. You can't teach me lightning. No, Jiraiya said honestly. Probably not. Good, teach me what people hide. Jiraiya studied him for a long moment. Then, for the first time, the great loud fool sounded entirely serious. That's usually where trouble starts. Naruto's eyes glowed faintly. No, that's where trouble becomes visible. The month passed in layers. Jiraiya taught him sealing history, not techniques at first. Uzashio? Whirlpool Country. The fall of the Uzumaki. Why nations feared people who could bind gods, beasts, death, memory, and space into written form. Naruto listened, actually listened. Jiraiya noticed, and it worried him. Most students wanted power. Naruto wanted frameworks. Power without framework was merely weather. Power with framework became law. Meanwhile, Sasuke trained with Kakashi. Sakura trained with herself because no one had yet understood what she might become. Gaara killed no one in Konoha during the month, though not because he lacked opportunity. Naruto passed near him twice. Each time Gaara's sand moved. Each time Naruto's skin sparked. Each time both continued walking. Predators did not always fight. Sometimes they mapped each other. The finals arrived beneath bright sun and packed stands. Civilians filled the arena. Nobles watched from shaded boxes. Shinobi stood in guard positions. Hiruzen sat in the cage viewing area beside the Kazekage, whose heartbeat Naruto identified as wrong the moment he entered. Orochimaru, different skin, same incorrect rhythm. Naruto looked up from the arena floor. Across the distance, the disguised Kazekage smiled. Naruto smiled back faintly. Orochimaru's hand tightened on the armrest. The matches began. Naruto's scheduled opponent was Neji again due to bracket changes after injuries and withdrawals. The Hyuga entered with a different face this time. Still proud. Less certain, that made him more interesting. The match was shorter than the preliminary. Neji fought beautifully. Rotation, palm strikes, footwork, feints aimed at forcing Naruto into physical state. He had learned not enough. Naruto let him demonstrate improvement, then ended the match by sending a low-voltage pulse through the arena floor, disrupting Neji's balance without harming him. Neji fell to one knee. The proctor called the match. Neji did not rage this time. He looked at Naruto and said quietly, "If fate is a pattern," Naruto looked back. Neji finished, "then someone has to survive long enough to change it." Naruto nodded once. That was acceptable. Then Sasuke arrived late for his match with Gaara. The arena shifted. Sasuke's new speed impressed the crowd. His Chidori impressed them more. Lightning gathered in his hand, loud and focused, a blade of chakra shaped through training and desperation. Naruto watched from the balcony. Imitation lightning, still not bad. Gaara's sand armor cracked under the strike. Blood appeared. Gaara's mind fractured around the wound. The invasion began. Feathers fell over the arena as genjutsu spread. Civilians collapsed into sleep. Shinobi moved. Sound and sand forces revealed themselves. Explosions broke the edges of the stadium. The disguised Kazekage took Hiruzen hostage and pulled him to the rooftop barrier, prepared for their duel. Chaos unfolded exactly as planned. Then Naruto opened mantra fully. The world became numbers, heartbeats in panic, enemy formations, explosive tags igniting, summons appearing, the barrier forming around Hiruzen and Orochimaru. Reanimated chakra signatures rising from forbidden earth. 2 dead Kage. First Hokage, second Hokage, soul-bound puppets wearing legends. Naruto's face changed. Not anger, displeasure. Konoha was not his home in the way Iruka wanted it to be. It was not his family in the way Hiruzen pretended it might become, but it was his city. And this was an insult to his city. Naruto moved. He did not chase Gaara. Sasuke could survive that lesson. He went upward. The rooftop barrier burned purple around Hiruzen and Orochimaru. Inside, the first and second Hokage stood with empty eyes, controlled by tags forced into their resurrected bodies. Hiruzen looked older than he had ever looked. Orochimaru turned as lightning gathered outside the barrier. His smile vanished. Naruto stood beyond the flames. The Sound Four maintaining the barrier saw him and panicked. One shouted something. Naruto touched the barrier. It was designed to reject physical entry and burn matter. Naruto became current. For half a second the barrier held, then its chakra structure lit up like a wire overloaded by a storm. Naruto stepped through. The barrier collapsed behind him. Hiruzen stared. Orochimaru whispered, "Impossible." Naruto looked at the reanimations. "No," he said, "just poorly insulated." The first Hokage moved first, wood rising from the roof in thick branches. The second formed water from empty air. Naruto lifted both hands, not to destroy their bodies, to find the seals. Ito Tensei was not life. It was binding. A soul attached to a vessel through technique, command, and sacrifice. The control tags were the functional weak points. Mantra found them. Lightning struck twice, precise. White, silent, the control tags inside the reanimated bodies burned away at the molecular level. The first and second Hokage froze. Their eyes cleared. For one brief moment, Hashirama Senju looked at Naruto and laughed softly, not amused, amazed. "Tabarama," he said, voice fading. "Children are terrifying now." Tabarama looked at Naruto with sharp assessment. "Good." Then both bodies crumbled into light and ash, souls released from command. Hiruzen lowered his staff. Orochimaru stood very still. Naruto turned to him. "I warned you." Orochimaru's face twisted. Fear did not make him smaller, it made him faster. He shed the Kazekage skin, spat out a sword, and attacked with everything he could risk in 3 seconds. Naruto did not kill him. Not because he could not. Because Orochimaru fleeing alive would teach more people than Orochimaru dying silently. A bolt took his sword arm numb. Another erased the roof near his feet. A third struck the summoning tattoo forming on his wrist and burned the technique apart before it completed. Orochimaru retreated, not gracefully, not laughing, retreated. He vanished through a snake's mouth into shadow and earth, leaving behind the smell of scorched ambition. The rooftop was quiet. Hiruzen looked at Naruto. For once, the old Hokage had no mask ready. "You saved my life." Naruto looked over the edge of the roof at the battle below. "I removed an insult." Hiruzen closed his eyes briefly. The words hurt, because they were not hatred, they were distance. By sunset, the invasion had failed. Gaara had been contained outside the village after Sasuke, Sakura, and Kakashi's forces delayed him long enough for Sand Command to collapse. Naruto did not need to intervene directly. The One Tail never fully emerged. Orochimaru escaped, but without victory. The third Hokage lived. The village survived. That should have made everyone relieved. Instead, the council chamber that night felt like a room waiting for lightning. Hiruzen sat behind his desk. Kakashi leaned against the wall. Jiraiya stood by the window, arms crossed. Several elders argued in sharp whispers until Naruto entered. Then they stopped. Naruto walked to the center of the room. No bow, no apology, no performance. Hiruzen looked at him for a long time. "What do you want, Naruto?" The question was simple. The room understood it was not. A child might have asked for acknowledgement. A genin might have asked for promotion. A lonely boy might have asked why everyone hated him. Naruto asked for none of those. "I want every Uzumaki sealing record in Konoha," he said. "Complete access, no missing pages, no supervised summaries." The elders erupted. "Absolutely not. He is 12. He contains the 9 tails." After what happened today, giving him access to, Naruto looked at them. The room fell silent. Not because he released killing intent. He did not need to. Their hearts betrayed them. Hiruzen lifted one hand. The elders stopped. Naruto continued, voice calm. "Then I want the village Jinchuriki records. The Akatsuki files Jiraiya has not already shown me." Orochimaru's research recovered from his laboratories, and the 4th Hokage sealing notes. Jiraiya's jaw tightened. Kakashi looked away. Hiruzen's face aged another year. "Naruto," the Hokage said softly, "some truths are difficult." Naruto's eyes remained still. "Truth is not difficult." "People are." No one answered. Hiruzen looked at the boy before him, not the loud child on the swing, not the prankster demanding attention, not the container of the 9 tails, not even the genin who had saved him. Something else. A child with the patience of a storm system and the curiosity of a conqueror. Finally, Hiruzen said, "You will have access to the Uzumaki records under Jiraiya's supervision." Naruto's eyes narrowed slightly. Hiruzen continued before he could respond, and the fourth's notes. Jiraiya turned. "Sensei, he would find them anyway," Hiruzen said. The room went still. Naruto looked at Hiruzen for a moment, then nodded once. It was not gratitude. It was acknowledgement of a correct calculation. As Naruto turned to leave, Hiruzen spoke again. "One more thing," Naruto paused. "What do you intend to do with this knowledge?" Naruto looked back at the Hokage's desk, at the chair, at the window overlooking the village, at the old man sitting beneath a hat heavy with history. Then he said, "I'll decide what to do with this office." No one moved. Naruto left. Outside, the village rebuilt through the night. Teams cleared rubble. Medics worked until their hands shook. Civilians searched for missing relatives. Shinobi wrote reports that would become official history, which meant they would become incomplete. Naruto climbed the Hokage monument before dawn. He sat on the fourth stone head and watched Konoha below, his city. No, not yet, but perhaps. The wind moved around him. Lightning flickered faintly beneath his skin. Somewhere inside, Kurama watched without speaking. After a while, footsteps landed behind him, heavy sandals, long white hair. The smell of ink, travel, oil, and old grief. Jiraiya, the Sannin, stood with his hands on his hips, looking down at the village beside him. "You know," Jiraiya said, "most kids your age would be celebrating after saving the village." Naruto did not turn. "Most kids my age think saving a village solves the village." Jiraiya exhaled. "That is a dangerously good sentence." Silence stretched, then Jiraiya tried a grin. "So how about we get you out of here for a while, training trip, see the world, learn sealing, meet toads, maybe develop a sense of humor?" Naruto looked at him. Jiraiya's grin weakened. For the first time in many years, the Toad Sage had opened with a joke and found no place for it to land. Naruto watched him with patient attention, not hostility, not admiration. The attention of someone waiting to see whether a thing would become interesting. Jiraiya, who had faced warlords, monsters, S-rank criminals, and women with very justified reasons to hit him, discovered that he had absolutely nothing to say. Then Naruto spoke. "You'll teach me history." Jiraiya blinked. "History?" "The shape of the world. The cage system, the wars, the Jinchuriki. The Akatsuki. The things old men hide because they think children are less dangerous when ignorant." Jiraiya studied him. Below them, Konoha smoldered. Above them, the sky slowly brightened. "You sure you don't want to start with chakra control?" Naruto raised one hand. Lightning curled around his fingers. "No." Jiraiya looked at the lightning, then at the boy, then at the village. "Yeah," he said quietly. "I figured." Naruto turned back toward the horizon. The sun rose over Konoha. For everyone below, it was the morning after an invasion. For Naruto, it was the first morning after confirmation. The world was larger than the village. The village was weaker than it pretended. The old gods could be dethroned. And somewhere beyond the walls, men in black cloaks with red clouds were moving pieces across a board they did not yet understand had changed shape. Naruto watched the light spread over the rooftops. In his mind, he counted heartbeats. In his blood, the storm waited. And for the first time, the world beyond Konoha began to feel worth measuring. Chapter 4. Dethroning the old gods, the purge, the Akatsuki, and the collapse of the shinobi hierarchy. Naruto left Konoha 2 weeks after the failed invasion. There was no ceremony, no cheering crowd, no tearful farewell at the gate. Konoha did not know how to say goodbye to him because Konoha had never properly known how to say hello. The village watched from windows, rooftops, alleys, and doorways as Naruto Uzumaki walked toward the main gate with a small pack over one shoulder and his forehead protector tied loosely around his neck. Jiraiya walked beside him, louder than necessary, complaining about travel food, road dust, and the tragic lack of beautiful women waiting to wave him off. Naruto ignored most of it. That, Jiraiya had learned, was usually the safest response to himself anyway. At the gate, Iruka waited. He stood with his arms folded, trying to look like a teacher proud of a student's progress, instead of a man watching a child walk toward a world that would either fear him, use him, or break itself trying to understand him. Naruto stopped. Uruka forced a smile. "So," he said, "training trip." "Yes." "Listen to Jiraiya-sama." Naruto glanced at the Sannin. Jiraiya grinned and gave a thumbs up. Naruto looked back at Uruka. When useful, Uruka sighed. "That's probably the best I'll get." For a moment, the old rhythm almost returned. Uruka almost scolded him. Naruto almost allowed it. Almost. Then Uruka stepped forward and held out a wrapped bundle. Naruto looked at it. "What is it?" "Food for the road. I can buy food." "I know. I don't require Naruto." The word stopped him, not because it was command, because it was tired. Uruka held the bundle out a little farther. "Just take it." Naruto studied his face, then took the bundle. Their fingers almost touched. Uruka looked as if that nearly meant something. Naruto placed the food in his pack. "Thank you," he said. Uruka blinked. It was such a small sentence, so ordinary, and somehow it left him speechless. Naruto turned and walked through the gate. Jiraiya followed, raising one hand in farewell. Behind them, the gates of Konoha stood open for a moment longer than usual, as if the village itself were uncertain whether it had just released a weapon, a child, or a future it could no longer control. Naruto did not look back, but Mantra remained stretched behind him until the village became a blur of heartbeats in the distance. Uruka stayed at the gate long after they disappeared. When he finally turned away, he noticed a faint scorch mark on the stone beneath Naruto's last step. It looked like a footprint. The first year of travel was not training in the way shinobi understood the word. Jiraiya had planned for chakra control exercises, toad contracts, combat drills, wilderness survival, infiltration practice, and sealing theory. He had imagined testing Naruto's limits through exhaustion, danger, and discipline. That plan lasted 3 days. On the 4th, Naruto asked him to explain the First Shinobi World War. By the 7th, they had abandoned most physical drills. By the 10th, Jiraiya understood the truth. Naruto did not need someone to teach him how to become powerful. He needed someone to explain why the world was arranged so badly. That was worse. Power without history was dangerous. Power with history could become judgment. They crossed Fire Country first. Naruto watched farms, roads, temples, trade posts, border towers, noble estates, ruined battlefields reclaimed by grass, and villages rebuilt over older villages whose names no one remembered. He asked questions constantly, but never the ones Jiraiya expected. Why are shinobi villages separated from civilian capitals? Because the daimyo controls money and civilian government. The village handles military force. Separation of funding and violence, Naruto said. Unstable. Necessary, Jiraiya replied. If one side controls everything, you get tyranny. Naruto looked at him. Jiraiya grimaced. Don't look at me like that. I know it's not perfect. No, Naruto said. You know it fails. That is different. They passed a refugee settlement near the border, families displaced by bandit activity and old post-war damage. Children played beside broken carts. Men repaired walls with scavenged wood. Women boiled thin soup over smoky fires while a local official argued with 2 hired genin over payment. Naruto watched from a hill. Why has this not been fixed? Jiraiya leaned on a tree. Money, politics, jurisdiction. Fire daimyo says the roads are village responsibility. Village says civilian settlements outside core patrol routes need local funding. Local lord says he already paid taxes. Everyone has paperwork proving someone else should act first. Naruto stared at the settlement. Paperwork is a fascinating form of cowardice. Jiraiya sighed. He wrote that one down, not because it was wrong, because he knew it would be important later. In the 2nd month, Jiraiya began teaching him about the cage system, 5 great villages, 5 military centers, 5 national ambitions balanced by fear, treaties, resource dependency, hostage politics, and the memory of wars no one wanted to repeat, but everyone prepared for. Naruto listened beside campfires and riverbanks. So peace exists because everyone is afraid of losing the next war. He said one night, Jiraiya poked at the fire with a stick. That's one way to put it. It is the accurate way, it's the cynical way. Cynicism is what people call accuracy when it makes them uncomfortable. Jiraiya groaned. You're 12. You're supposed to say things like, I'll protect my friends and I won't give up. Naruto looked at the fire. Would that improve the system? No, Jiraiya admitted, but it would make me sleep better. Naruto considered that, then said, I won't give up. Jiraiya stared at him. Naruto continued, that did not improve anything. Jiraiya laughed despite himself. It was the first time Naruto had made a joke on purpose. Possibly, Jiraiya could never be sure. The world opened in layers. In Tea Country, Naruto saw smugglers bribing officials while starving fishermen paid dock fees twice. In River Country, he watched a minor lord hire missing nin to intimidate farmers who could not pay taxes after a flood. In Grass Country, he saw children younger than academy students carrying messages through contested territory because no one important enough to protect them had signed the right contract. Each place added to the ledger. Each story became data. And Naruto's power grew around that data like a storm learning geography. Jiraiya did teach him sealing, not as a teacher instructing a student, but as a man unlocking doors and immediately regretting how fast the boy walked through them. Uzumaki seals were not merely symbols. They were agreements written onto reality, contracts between energy, intent, structure, and consequence. Most shinobi used seals like tools, storage scrolls, explosive tags, barriers, containment. Naruto saw architecture. A seal could hold chakra, a seal could redirect force. A seal could define a space and tell the world what was allowed inside it. By the end of 6 months, he had created his first stable electrical storage array. By the end of 9, he could write seals with lightning directly onto stone without burning the structure apart. By the end of the first year, he built a circular platform 10 meters wide and made it hover 6 feet above the ground for 9 seconds before it fell into a lake. Jiraiya stood on the shore with his arms crossed. Well, he said, that could have gone worse. Naruto, soaked but calm, looked at the sinking platform. The lift array did not account for rotational instability. It also did not account for you standing on something that had no business flying. It flew. It drowned, temporarily. Jiraiya rubbed his forehead. Inside Naruto, Kurama laughed so hard the mindscape shook. Their relationship with the fox changed slowly, not warmly. Never that. Kurama was not a misunderstood pet. He was ancient rage, wounded pride, and power with a memory longer than nations. But Naruto did not treat him like a monster, a friend, a prisoner, or a god. He treated him like a difficult resource with opinions worth occasionally hearing. This annoyed Kurama more than hatred would have. It also kept him listening. In the second year of travel, Naruto began integrating small amounts of Kurama's chakra into his electrical state. The first attempt destroyed a hillside. The second boiled a pond. The third produced a plasma arc so bright that birds fell silent for miles, and Jiraiya used language that, under other circumstances, he would have claimed was research for his books. Naruto stood in the smoking field afterward, skin glowing with red and blue light braided together. Kurama's chakra did not behave like ordinary chakra. It carried emotion as fuel, but Naruto refused to use it through rage. Instead, he filtered it through sealing arrays etched across his own chakra pathways, converting raw-tailed beast force into heat, pressure, and electrical amplification. It was inefficient at first, then terrifyingly efficient. Jiraiya watched from a safe distance. How much voltage was that? Naruto looked at his hand. Difficult to measure. That is not comforting. Over 1 billion briefly. Jiraiya closed his eyes. Of course it was. Kurama growled from within. Do not act as though you invented my power. Naruto replied internally, no, I improved its distribution. The silence that followed lasted 3 days. Jiraiya enjoyed those 3 days. During the second year, Akatsuki became more than rumor. Jiraiya had files, names, partial abilities, old sightings, red clouds on black cloaks, missing nin of S-rank capacity. The organization hunted Jinchuriki, though their full purpose remained hidden behind layers of deception. Naruto read every file, Itachi Uchiha, Kasama Hoshigaki, Sasori of the Red Sand, Deidara, Kakuzu. Hidden. Conan, Pain, that final name stopped him. Pain was not written like a man, Pain was written like an event, villages destroyed, targets removed, no clear body count, Rinnegan sightings unconfirmed, 6 bodies rumored, gravitational phenomena described by one survivor as the hand of a god pressing down. Naruto reread the file twice. Jiraiya noticed. That one worries you? Naruto looked at the page. Force that does not require contact is useful. That's not what I asked. It is why he matters. Jiraiya sat across from him in the inn-room, all humor gone. Pain is dangerous in a way most people don't understand, not just because of power, because people believe in him. Naruto looked up. Belief is a tool. It's also a disease when used wrong. That describes most tools. Jiraiya leaned back. For a moment he looked older than he pretended to be. I had students once, in Rain. Brilliant kids, kind, angry, impossible. They wanted to change a broken country. Naruto listened. Jiraiya rarely spoke like this. I thought I helped them. Maybe I did. Maybe I abandoned them. Hard to tell the difference when history keeps moving after you leave. One became Pain, Naruto said. Jiraiya's gaze sharpened. You don't know that. No, Naruto said, but you fear it. The room went quiet. Rain tapped against the window. Jiraiya looked away first. Yeah, he said softly. I do. Naruto closed the file. Then we will eventually check. Eventually. Pain is not first. Jiraiya frowned. Then what is? Naruto looked at the map spread across the table, the 5 great nations, the hidden villages, borders drawn by wars, systems pretending permanence because enough people had died defending them. Understanding the board, Naruto said. The 3rd year began with the prototype. It was no longer a 10-meter platform that fell into lakes. It was 30 meters across, circular, black stone reinforced with layered seals and metal veins that conducted lightning through its structure. Wind-natured lightning arrays stabilized lift. Uzumaki anchoring formulas prevented rotational collapse. A central seal core stored excess charge and redistributed it through the frame. It floated 20 meters above a valley for 6 full hours. Jiraiya stood on it, pale and gripping the edge. I hate this. Naruto stood at the center, calm as stone. It's stable. You said that about the one that drowned. This one has learned. Platforms don't learn, they do when corrected. Jiraiya looked down at the valley floor. Why does it need to fly? Naruto looked at the horizon. Ground is politically complicated. Jiraiya stared. Then he realized Naruto was serious. That was the day Jiraiya began writing a private letter to Hiruzen and never finished it. Because what could he say? Naruto is not losing control. Naruto is not becoming cruel. Naruto is becoming certain. And certainty is worse. When they returned to Konoha, Naruto did not use the gate. He descended from the sky at dawn. The platform remained above the clouds, hidden for now. Naruto arrived as a bolt from clear air, reforming on the Hokage monument atop the carved face of the 4th Hokage. For 3 minutes he stood there. The village woke beneath him. People looked up, first shinobi, then civilians, then children. No speech, no declaration. No threat, just Naruto Uzumaki standing above Konoha on the stone face of the father he now knew but had not yet decided how to feel about. Then he vanished. He went home. He made ramen. The message was received anyway. Konoha adjusted around him the way forests adjusted around fire. Hiruzen summoned him that afternoon. The old Hokage looked more tired than before but still alive, which Naruto considered a useful deviation from the original danger pattern. Jiraiya stood near the window, watching both of them. You've grown, Hiruzen said. Naruto looked at him. Yes. Hiruzen waited for more. None came. The Hokage sighed. Jiraiya's reports were selective. Mercifully, Jiraiya muttered. Naruto placed a scroll on the desk. Hiruzen looked at it. What is this? A proposed restructuring of Konoha's Jinchuriki containment policies. Jiraiya closed his eyes. Hiruzen slowly opened the scroll. His expression changed as he read. The proposal was detailed. Cold, effective. It listed failures in psychological management, village security, SEAL maintenance, civilian misinformation, and weaponization ethics. It recommended the immediate classification of Jinchuriki not as village property, military assets, or emergency weapons, but as sovereign high-risk persons under protected status. Hiruzen looked up. You wrote this? Yes. It's humane. Naruto's face did not change. It's efficient. Hiruzen looked back down. That answer made the document feel less comforting. Before he could respond, Naruto turned his head slightly toward the north wall. Jiraiya noticed instantly. What? Naruto's eyes narrowed. 2 signatures at the outer boundary. Hiruzen stood. Who? Naruto's skin sparked. One carries a sword that eats chakra. Jiraiya's face hardened. Kasama. The other is Sasuke's brother. The room went cold. At the village boundary, Itachi Uchiha and Kasama Hoshigaki stepped out of the trees expecting stealth, speed, and controlled engagement. They found Naruto already waiting. He stood in the road beyond the gate, hands in his pockets, orange jacket replaced by a darker travel coat threaded faintly with conductive seals. His headband rested at his throat. Lightning moved beneath his skin like thought beneath language. Kasama grinned. Well, that saves time. Itachi said nothing. His Sharingan turned slowly. Naruto looked at him. You came for Kurama. Kasama chuckled. Straight to business. Naruto's gaze shifted to Samehada. The sword shifted in Kasama's grip, eager. That weapon consumes chakra. That's right. It will dislike me. Kasama's grin widened. Lots of people say that before it takes a bite. He swung. Samehada came down like a slab of hunger. Naruto raised his hand and let the blade touch his palm. For 1 second, Samehada tried to feed. Then Naruto converted. The sword bit lightning. The circuit completed in the wrong direction. Kasama's grin vanished. A thunderclap burst across the road. Kasama flew backwards, smoke rising from his cloak, one arm hanging numb. Samehada screamed not a sound exactly, but a vibration of pain and confusion. Naruto looked at the blade. Poor design. Kasama forced himself upright, laughing through clenched teeth. You're a nasty little thing. Itachi stepped forward. Naruto looked at him. The Sharingan spun. Genjutsu attempted to close around Naruto's perception. Mantra rejected it, not because Naruto was immune to illusion. Because Itachi had aimed at sight, chakra flow, emotional interpretation, and mental rhythm. Naruto's awareness was not located in his eyes. It was spread through air, ground, metal, heartbeat, nerve signal, heat, and the tiny electrical declarations of every living thing nearby. To trap him in one perception was like trying to imprison a storm by painting a wall. Itachi understood in less than a second. He stopped the genjutsu before Naruto broke it. Interesting, he said quietly. You killed your clan, Naruto said. Kasama's eyes flicked between them. Itachi's face did not move. Naruto continued, but not for the reasons Sasuke thinks. The silence became sharp. For the first time, Itachi's heartbeat changed, small, almost nothing, enough. Naruto looked toward the village. Sasuke's grief is not my problem. Itachi's eyes narrowed faintly. But if you enter my city without permission again, you will become ash before he gets the satisfaction of understanding you. Kasama let out a low whistle. Itachi studied Naruto for a long moment, then he turned. We'll revisit this. Naruto nodded. I'll know when you're coming. They left. They did not revisit it. The legend began there, not officially. Official records softened everything. They said Naruto Uzumaki repelled 2 Akatsuki members at the northern boundary. The unofficial story was better. The unofficial story said the Shark Man's sword screamed. It said Itachi Uchiha chose retreat before throwing a single flame. It said Naruto smiled when they left. He had not smiled. But legends rarely cared about precision. Deidara came next, months later, over the border of Wind Country. He came for Jinchuriki and art, not necessarily in that order. Explosions bloomed across an empty canyon as clay birds spiraled through the sky. Deidara stood atop a white construct, blonde hair whipping in the wind, one eye magnified through his scope. So you're the lightning brat. Yeah, Naruto stood on a cliff edge below. So you're the loud one. Deidara grinned. Art is an explosion. Naruto looked at the clay bird circling overhead. Art is pattern made meaningful. Deidara's grin twitched. That's boring. Your work is brief. That's the point. The fight was beautiful in the way storms and fireworks were beautiful before everyone remembered they could burn cities. Deidara's clay creatures dove, split, multiplied, detonated in sequences designed to overwhelm sight and timing. Naruto moved through them as lightning, C1. Ineffective, C2. Predictable once flight path was mapped, C3. Dangerous to civilians, so Naruto redirected it upward and let it detonate harmlessly in the open sky. Then Deidara used C4, microscopic clay. Cellular destruction. A technique designed to enter the body and turn life into explosion from within. Naruto inhaled it deliberately. Deidara's smile became wild. Then Naruto dispersed into electricity. No cells, no lungs, no blood, no target. The microscopic bombs detonated across empty current, producing only a faint glittering shimmer in the air. Naruto reformed on Deidara's clay bird behind him. That was conceptually interesting. Deidara went very still. Naruto placed 2 fingers against the bird. The clay construct lost structural coherence and began to fall. Deidara jumped away, laughing now, truly laughing, half furious and half delighted. You don't get it, yeah. Art needs an ending. Naruto looked at him. Then choose one. Deidara did. The explosion lit the canyon like a second sunrise. Naruto watched from above, untouched, the blast reflected in his eyes. Deidara had wanted to be the artist of his own final moment. Naruto allowed it. That was the closest thing to respect he offered him. Sasori never reached him. Sakura and Chiyo fought him far away, and this, strangely, strengthened Naruto's legend more than if he had been present. The Akatsuki began to understand that Naruto did not need to stand in every battlefield for outcomes to bend around him. He was becoming a condition, a weather warning. Then pain came to Konoha. The day began quietly. Naruto sat on the Hokage monument, reading an Uzumaki scroll older than the village itself. The scroll described a large-scale anchoring method used to stabilize coastal barriers against tidal chakra surges. Poorly adapted, it could lift stone. Properly adapted, it could lift cities. Below him, Konoha lived. He felt it always now, children training, merchants arguing, medics working. Anbu shifting between posts, Hiruzen signing documents, Kakashi reading. Sakura walking with purpose sharper than before. Hinata near the Hyuga compound, heartbeat soft but steady. Sasuke absent from the village, chasing a brother Naruto had allowed him to chase. Then 6 new signatures entered the perimeter. Not one person, 6 bodies, one will. Naruto looked up. Pain had arrived. The first explosion struck the eastern district. Then summons. Then screams. Then destruction moving with organized purpose. Naruto closed the scroll. He did not rush. He located each body 6 paths. Shared vision, separate functions, chakra receivers. Gravitational center strongest in the orange-haired one, interesting, then pain rose above the village. Naruto felt the chakra gather, a pressure wave forming, gravitational force, not lightning, not chakra in any simple sense. A command issued to space itself, almighty push. For one heartbeat, every life in Konoha became a signal moving toward silence. Naruto stood. Pain released the technique. The village became a crater. Dust swallowed the world, buildings folded, streets vanished, towers broke. The Hokage monument cracked beneath Naruto's feet. Heartbeats stopped all at once, not all permanently, but enough that the absence struck mantra like a missing section of sky. Naruto looked down. His city was broken. His expression did not change, but the air around him ionized so violently that stone lifted from the ground. Kurama opened both eyes in the mindscape. Now, Naruto's voice was quiet. Yes, he vanished. 5 bodies of pain died in the opening exchange. Not dramatically, not with speeches. 1 bolt through the mechanized body before it could launch missiles. 1 through the summoner before another creature formed. one through the absorber after Naruto overloaded its intake with a current it could not classify quickly enough, one through the soul-ripping body's receivers, one through the healer before resurrection could begin, each strike precise. Each body dropped without excess damage. The diva path survived. Yahiko's body stood at the center of the crater, orange hair bright against dust, Rinnegan eyes calm as extinction. "You are Naruto Uzumaki," Pain said. Naruto landed across from him. "You are late." Pain studied him. "I came to teach Pain." Naruto looked around the crater. "You damaged property?" Pain's gaze sharpened. "You call this property?" Naruto's eyes glowed. "Yes." The first Shinra Tensei struck Naruto mid-transformation. For the first time in years, Naruto's lightning state failed to ignore an attack. Gravitational repulsion tore through his dispersed form, scattered his current, and forced him violently back into flesh. He hit the ground, slid through dust, and rose with blood at the corner of his mouth. The crater went silent. Pain looked at him. Naruto touched the blood, then smiled faintly. Finally, Pain attacked. The battle lasted less than 5 minutes. For everyone watching, it felt like the end of weather. Naruto's lightning crossed the crater in impossible angles, but each time he approached, Pain timed Shinra Tensei to disrupt his state. 5-second intervals. Cooldown. Predictable but dangerous. Naruto counted them. Pain used black receivers when Naruto was physical. 2 struck Naruto's shoulder, 1 struck his thigh. The rods attempted to impose foreign chakra control. Naruto sent lightning backward through them and made Pain stagger. Pain's eyes narrowed. "You resist control." Naruto pulled the rods free. "I dislike poor craftsmanship." Pain raised both hands. "Chibaku Tensei." The sky darkened as a black gravitational core rose above Konoha. Stone lifted, rubble rose. Buildings, trees, earth, broken weapons. Shattered walls all pulled upward toward the forming sphere. Naruto felt gravity take hold of him. For 3 seconds, the survivors of Konoha watched a new moon form above their ruined village, with Naruto trapped at its center. Hinata, half buried beneath broken stone, opened her eyes and saw the sphere climb. Her heart broke before her body could move. Inside the sphere, Naruto stood surrounded by crushing rock. Kurama's chakra surged, red, ancient, furious. Naruto did not rage. He opened the gate only enough. Lightning and tailed beast chakra braided together. Plasma bloomed. The sphere became a sun. Then detonated from within, not an explosion outward toward the village, upward. Naruto converted the gathered mass into superheated plasma and drove it into the upper atmosphere in a pillar of red-blue light. The false moon dissolved into fire, rising harmlessly beyond the clouds. Pain looked up. For the first time, the Rinnegan did not look divine. It looked insufficient. Naruto descended, his cloak burned at the edges. His skin glowed with sealed patterns. The air around him sang. Pain lifted one hand. Cooldown incomplete. Too slow. Naruto appeared before him and touched 2 fingers to the main receiver embedded in Yahiko's body. He could have destroyed it. Instead, he sent a calibrated pulse through the network, across distance, through chakra rods, through linked control, through the invisible thread between corpse and master. The 6-path system burned out. Yahiko's body collapsed. Far away, hidden in a paper tree, Nagato screamed. Naruto followed the signal. He arrived in a bolt of light. Konan moved instantly, paper wings unfolding around her like a storm of blades. Naruto looked at her. Move. She did not. Paper surged. Naruto released 1 pulse, not fire, not destruction, static. Every sheet froze midair, suspended and trembling, unable to fold, cut, or fly. Konan's eyes widened. Naruto walked past her. Nagato sat in a machine of rods, bones, and willpower. Thin, dying, hair red as old blood, eyes carrying the Rinnegan's impossible circles. He looked at Naruto with exhaustion and hatred. "You should have killed the body." Naruto stood before him. "Yes." "Why didn't you?" Naruto studied him. Pain, Nagato, a student of Jiraiya, a child ruined by war who had turned grief into theology and theology into punishment. A man who believed suffering could educate the world, a god built from a wound. Naruto understood him. That was why he could not respect him. Because gods don't explain themselves to the dead, Naruto said. You'll serve as an example while you're still alive to be one. Nagato's eyes narrowed. You think yourself a god? Naruto looked at the broken machine around him. No, he turned to leave. God is simply the closest word humans have for someone they cannot meaningfully stop. Conan stared at him as he passed. Nagato lowered his head. For the first time, Pain had nothing to say about pain. Naruto returned to Konoha at sunset. The village was a wound in the earth. Survivors moved through dust and ruin. Medics shouted. Shinobi dug through rubble. Families found one another or did not. Hiruzen stood near the shattered remains of the Hokage Tower, robe torn, face ashen with age and helplessness. Everyone saw Naruto appear at the center of the crater. The noise faded. He looked around, not at the suffering first, at the structure, roads destroyed. Administrative centers gone. Defensive walls damaged. Civilian zones exposed. The old village layout had failed under pressure. Too centralized, too sentimental, too easy to crush. Hiruzen approached slowly. Naruto crouched and pressed one glowing finger into the broken ground. He began to draw. A seal line burned into stone, then another, then another. Patterns spread through the crater like roots made of light. Rubble trembled. A broken wall lifted, then a foundation stone, then a whole section of collapsed street. People gasped as the ruins began to reorganize, not restored exactly, but raised into new alignment. Stronger supports, wider evacuation paths, reinforced seal channels, elevated relay points. Jiraiya arrived on the crater's edge, staring. He knew enough sealing to understand the scale. He knew enough history to fear the intention. Naruto stood at the center of the glowing array, his voice carried without shouting. The village will be rebuilt. For one moment, hope moved through Konoha, then he finished. My way. Hope became something more complicated, no one argued. Not that day, not in that crater, not while the ground itself obeyed him. Beneath a broken section of stone, Hinata Hyuga watched through dust and tears. She had loved, or thought she had loved, a lonely boy who smiled too brightly and kept standing up no matter how many times the village pushed him down. That boy had never really been there. Or perhaps he had been there once, buried beneath silence, pain, power, and the terrible discovery that he did not need anyone to acknowledge him if he could make acknowledgement irrelevant. She watched Naruto draw glowing laws into the bones of the village, a god beginning to build his throne. And she cried for him, for the village, for herself. For reasons she did not yet have words to name, above them, clouds gathered around a clear sky. Naruto looked up. The world was larger than Konoha. Pain had proved that the old gods could be broken, the false gods could be dethroned. The systems that produced them could not be allowed to continue unchanged. Inside him, Kurama spoke quietly. You're thinking bigger. Naruto watched a levitating stone settle into place. I was thinking too small. Kurama was silent for a long moment. Then he said, That should worry me. Naruto's eyes glowed in the dusk. Yes. And across the continent, in hidden rooms and guarded towers, the leaders of the shinobi world received their reports. Pain had fallen. Konoha had survived. Naruto Uzumaki had rebuilt the first foundation with lightning and seals. The Akatsuki began rewriting their plans. The cage began preparing contingencies. Orochimaru, hidden beneath the earth, read the news and burned the report after the first page. And far away, behind masks, shadows, and old eyes, Madara Uchiha understood that the board had changed. Not because Naruto was another piece, because Naruto was becoming the hand above the board. Chapter 5. The Empire of Static, the collapse of the 5 nations building the new world. The 5-cage summit was called because everyone was afraid. They used better words, of course: security, stability, emergency coordination, continental threat response, post-Akatsuki realignment, shinobi cooperation in the aftermath of unprecedented attacks. But Naruto Uzumaki had learned that politics was mostly fear wearing formal clothing. The letters went out after Pain's defeat, and Konoha's reconstruction began. The official reason was the Akatsuki. Their attacks on Jinchuriki had destabilized the balance between nations. Their members had killed, infiltrated, and humiliated villages that were supposed to be untouchable. Their leader had reduced Konoha to a crater and failed only because something worse than him lived there. That last part was not written in the invitation. It did not need to be. Every cage knew. Every hidden village knew. Every intelligence division on the continent had spent the last several months trying to answer the same impossible question. What was Naruto Uzumaki? The reports contradicted one another. A Jinchuriki, a lightning release mutation, and Uzumaki sealing prodigy. A new form of tailed beast transformation. A forbidden experiment created by the fourth Hokage. A child. A weapon. A god. None of the reports satisfied anyone because all of them were partly true and therefore useless. Naruto read the summit notice from the roof of the temporary Hokage Tower, where Konoha's administration now operated while the original structure was rebuilt according to his corrected designs. Hiruzen Sarutobi stood beside him. The old Hokage had aged sharply since Pain's attack. Not in body alone, though that was clear enough. His shoulders carried more weight. His pipe spent more time unlit between his fingers. His eyes often moved to the new foundations rising across Konoha as if he were not sure whether he was looking at salvation or surrender. Naruto handed the notice back. They intend to discuss me without me. Hiruzen sighed. They intend to discuss the Akatsuki? Naruto looked at him. Hiruzen did not finish the lie. The wind moved between them. Below, construction teams worked under seal-guided levitation arrays Naruto had drawn into the ground. Stones rose into place without cranes. Beams aligned themselves through magnetic channels. Roads widened. Emergency shelters formed beneath civilian districts. Communication towers, hidden inside ordinary-looking structures, connected the village through conductive seal lines. Konoha was healing. It was also becoming harder to conquer. Naruto approved. "You should attend," Hiruzen said. "I will," as part of Konoha's delegation. "No." Hiruzen closed his eyes. Naruto. "They are meeting to preserve a system that produced Akatsuki, Jinchuriki abuse, 3 world wars, and pain. Attending as a village asset would make the wrong point, and arriving uninvited would make what point?" Naruto looked toward the horizon. "The accurate one." Hiruzen opened his eyes again. In another life, he might have argued. In another life, Naruto might have shouted about becoming Hokage, and Hiruzen might have smiled sadly at the boy's dream, but that boy had never fully existed here. This Naruto did not want the hat. He was beginning to question the need for hats at all. "You cannot simply force the world to become better," Hiruzen said quietly. Naruto's gaze did not move. "I know." That surprised the old man. Then Naruto continued. "I can force it to stop becoming worse in predictable ways." Hiruzen stared at him. "That is not the same as peace." "No," Naruto said. "It is the removal of inefficient failure." Hiruzen looked down at the village. Children were playing near a half-built street where workers had paused for lunch. A medic carried supplies past a newly raised clinic wall. An old woman stood outside her repaired shop, touching the smooth stone foundation Naruto's seals had lifted into place. Konoha was alive because Naruto had chosen to preserve it, but choice was not love, and preservation was not freedom. "You sound less like a shinobi every day," Hiruzen said. Naruto turned slightly. "That is the first hopeful thing anyone has said to me this week." The summit was held in the land of iron, neutral ground. Snow covered the mountains in clean white sheets, as if the world had hidden its dirt beneath ceremony. Samurai guarded the approach routes with disciplined stillness. Their armor reflected pale light. Their swords remained sheathed, but every hand knew exactly how far it was from a hilt. Naruto arrived before the official delegations, not through the gates, above them. The prototype platform had grown. No longer 30 meters, it was now nearly 80 across. a black circular structure reinforced with metal veins and layered seal geometry. It moved silently through the clouds, held aloft by wind-shaped lightning and Uzumaki stabilization arrays. Beneath it, the air trembled with low electrical pressure. Jiraiya stood near the edge, arms folded tightly. "I still hate this thing." Naruto stood at the center, reading a scroll. "You've said that before." "I will continue saying it until the ground apologizes and takes us back." "The ground is politically compromised." Jiraiya rubbed his face. "You know, when I agreed to train you, I imagined dangerous missions, maybe some emotional bonding, maybe teaching you to summon toads." Naruto turned a page. "You taught me geopolitical failure patterns." "That was not supposed to be the main curriculum." "It was the only useful part." Jiraiya looked down through the clouds. Far below, the Iron Country Summit building came into view, a fortress of stone and snow, guarded by samurai and surrounded by representatives of the old order. "You understand," Jiraiya said, quieter now, "that once you do this, you can't go back to being just Konoha's Naruto?" Naruto looked at him. "I was never Konoha's." The answer had no bitterness. That made it worse. Jiraiya turned away. He had spent 2.5 years hoping to find the lonely boy beneath the lightning. Sometimes he had seen traces in the way. Naruto kept Uruka's old food cloth folded in his pack long after it was useless. In the way he repaired broken roads without being asked. In the way he never harmed children even when they threw stones at him in villages that feared Jinchuriki. But those traces were not enough to stop what he was becoming. Maybe nothing had ever been enough. The summit began without him. Inside the central chamber, the 5 Kage sat around a heavy circular table. Hiruzen Sarutobi, Hokage of the Leaf, old and watchful. The 4th Raikage, massive, impatient, power coiled beneath his skin like a storm-given muscle. Mei Terumi, Mizukage of the Mist, elegant and dangerous, representing a village still washing blood from its own history. Anoki, Tsuchikage of the Stone, small, ancient, and sharp enough to cut with words alone. Gaara, Kazekage of the Sand, young and silent, his gourd resting behind him like a second presence. That was the first change the room had not expected. Gaara was no longer merely the Sand's weapon. He was their cage. Naruto had heard the reports. After the failed invasion and the collapse of several older power structures, Gaara had changed. Not softened exactly, refined. He had learned to govern himself and therefore others. That made him rare. Around the chamber stood guards and attendants. Temari behind Gaara, fan resting against her back. Kankuro beside her, painted face tense, Darui and C behind the Raikage. Ao behind Mei, stone guards behind Onoki. Kakashi and Shikaku behind Hiruzen. The discussion began as expected. Akatsuki movements, remaining members, Pain's defeat. The risk of retaliation, the Jinchuriki. Then Onoki said, "We are all speaking around the real issue." The room quieted. The old Tsuchikage leaned forward. "Akatsuki is dangerous, yes, but Akatsuki can be hunted. Missing nin can be killed. Organizations can be dismantled. The question is whether any of us are prepared to say what happens when the Leaf's Jinchuriki decides villages themselves are the problem." Hiruzen's face tightened. The Raikage slammed one fist onto the table. "Then we handle him like any other threat." Gaara looked at him. "You cannot." The Raikage's eyes narrowed. "You saying Sand won't stand with the Alliance?" "I am saying your sentence is structurally false." The room paused. Gaara continued, voice calm. "Naruto, Uzumaki is not a threat you handle. He is a condition you account for." Mei's eyes moved to Hiruzen. "And what does Konoha say?" Hiruzen inhaled slowly. "Konoha says Naruto is not an enemy," Onoki snorted. "That is not the same as saying he is under your control." "No," Hiruzen said. "It is not." Before anyone could respond, the lights flickered. Every sword in the room hummed. Every metal cup rattled. The air pressure changed. The Raikage stood. Then the ceiling melted, not exploded, not shattered. Melted in a perfect circle, red-hot stone dripping upward for one impossible second before being caught in a magnetic field and moved aside. Snowlight poured into the chamber. Naruto descended through the opening. He landed on the table, not beside it, On it, the 5 cage stared at him. Naruto looked around the room with mild interest, then stepped down from the table and took the empty space between Konoha and Suna, as if the architecture had forgotten to provide his seat. Behind him, the hole in the ceiling cooled instantly, rim glowing faintly. Jiraiya dropped in after him, less gracefully, landing near Hiruzen with the exhausted expression of a man who had tried and failed to prevent history from happening. "Sorry," Jiraiya muttered. He insisted on dramatic accuracy. The Raikage's lightning cloak flared. "You have some nerve, brat." Naruto looked at him. The Raikage was the only person in the room whose confidence had a physical basis. His lightning armor increased speed, durability, reflexes. His body was conditioned beyond normal human limits. His chakra output was immense. His presence filled space like a war drum. He was also the only one in the room who understood lightning well enough to know something was wrong. Naruto did not release chakra, did not take a stance, did not threaten, but every hair on the Raikage's arms rose. His armor flickered once, not from fear, from interference. The Raikage's eyes narrowed. Naruto said, "Sit." The word was quiet, the room waited, the Raikage's jaw clenched. For 1 second it seemed he would attack. Then Gaara spoke. "Raikage." The Raikage's glare snapped toward him. Gaara's face remained still. "Do not turn this summit into a demonstration." The Raikage looked back at Naruto, then slowly he sat. The fact that he did so voluntarily did not make it feel voluntary. Naruto turned to the table. "The 5 cage system is inefficient. No greeting, no apology, no introduction." Onoki laughed once. "Straight to the throat, then." Naruto looked at him. "Your villages maintain standing military systems designed to compete for missions, resources, political leverage, and deterrence. This creates recurring incentives for conflict. Each village treats children as military assets. Each nation uses jinchuriki as deterrent weapons while pretending morality during peacetime. Smaller countries absorb the cost of wars they do not meaningfully choose. Missing nin organizations such as Akatsuki are not aberrations, they are waste products." Mei's expression sharpened. "That is an impressive accusation from someone representing a village." "I am not representing Konoha." Hiruzen closed his eyes. Naruto continued. "I am informing the current administrators of the conclusion." "Administrators?" Onoki said, voice dangerous. "Yes." The word landed like a blade. The Raikage leaned forward. "You think you can walk in here and demote the 5 cage? Naruto looked at him. "No," smiled grimly. "Good. I think the system already demoted itself by failing its purpose repeatedly." The Raikage's hand tightened. Darui muttered, "This is going great." Mei folded her hands. "And your replacement?" Naruto placed a scroll on the table. It unfurled by itself. Seal script burned across its surface, accompanied by diagrams of troop limits, mission allocation revisions, jinchuriki emancipation protocols, cross-border civil defense standards, and a new continental enforcement model built around surveillance through mantra and rapid response lightning constructs. Shikaku Nara leaned forward. His face changed as he read, not fear, worse, recognition that the plan was coherent. "This is not a proposal," Shikaku said quietly. Naruto looked at him. "No," Onoki's voice hardened. "You are describing occupation. No, occupation requires soldiers. Soldiers require supply chains. Supply chains create corruption and resistance points. That is your objection to occupation. One of several may studied the scroll. No taxation. No, no village dissolution. No, no forced relocation. No, then what do you want?" Naruto looked around the table. "An end to sovereign military escalation, standing force thresholds, jinchuriki emancipation, mission distribution reform, shared medical infrastructure, forbidden research review, war authorization removed from individual village discretion." Onoki barked a laugh. "And if we refuse?" Naruto raised one finger. A bolt struck the table between them, not enough to harm, enough to split the stone surface neatly into 5 equal sections. No one moved. Naruto lowered his hand. "Then you will continue making incorrect decisions with fewer buildings." The Raikage stood again. This time he moved. Lightning armor erupted around him, blue chakra roaring. The chamber shook as he crossed the distance between them with speed that had broken armies and humbled monsters. To most eyes, he vanished. To Naruto, he was a bright, direct equation: force, speed, conductivity. Naruto lifted one hand. The Raikage's fist stopped an inch from his face. Not by impact, by field lock. Lightning met lightning, but Naruto's was not chakra shaped into lightning. It was authority over the medium itself. The Raikage's armor flared violently, fighting his own nervous system for permission to move. His eyes widened. Naruto looked at him without blinking. "You are impressive." The Raikage's teeth clenched. Naruto continued, "But you are still using lightning as armor." The field released. The Raikage staggered back one step. That was enough to silence the room. Naruto turned away from him before the Raikage could decide whether humiliation required another attack. Anoki rose slightly from his chair, dust release gathering between his hands. Jiraiya's face tightened. Hiruzen said, "Tsuchikage, don't!" Anoki ignored him. A cube of destructive light formed. Naruto looked over his shoulder. The air around the cube ionized. Its edges distorted as electromagnetic pressure interfered with the chakra geometry required to stabilize particle-style release. Anoki's eyes widened. The cube collapsed into harmless sparks. Naruto said, "Your technique is elegant. Its formation window is not." Mei did not attack. That was why Naruto respected her most among the older Kage. She looked at the broken table, the Raikage's forced pause, Anoki's collapsed jutsu, Hiruzen's grief, Gaara's silence, and adjusted faster than the rest. "What you are building," she said, "will make you the single point of failure for the entire world." Naruto looked at her. "Yes. That does not concern you. It concerns me less than 5 competing points of repeated failure." Gaara finally spoke, and when you are wrong, the room shifted. Naruto looked at him. Gaara's eyes were steady, not defiant, not submissive, honest. That made the question worth answering. "Then the world will need someone capable of correcting me." Gaara's sand moved softly. "Do you intend to allow such a person to exist?" For the first time, Naruto did not answer immediately. Jiraiya watched him closely. So did Hiruzen. So did every Kage in the room. Naruto looked down at the scroll, then back at Gaara. "If I find one," he said, "I will not kill them for being necessary." It was not a comforting answer, but it was the most human thing he had said all day. The summit lasted 3 more hours. Resistance continued, then weakened. Not because the Kage agreed with him, because each objection met structure. Each political complaint met a logistical correction. Each threat met an exact explanation of why it would fail. Naruto did not rant. He did not persuade. He inspected. By the end, the 5 Kage had accepted a provisional framework. They did not call it surrender. They called it emergency stabilization. They did not call Naruto emperor, not yet, but language always lagged behind reality. The first tablet fell from the sky over Kumagakure 3 days later. It landed in the center of the Raikage's administrative hall, burned from black stone by lightning, standing military threshold. Revised, the Raikage punched a wall through 3 rooms, then he followed the threshold. The world did not change overnight. That would have been too simple. But it began bending. Villages reduced active deployments. Jinchuriki were recalled, then removed from village custody under terms nobody liked and Naruto enforced personally. Smaller countries received protective seal networks. Missing nin bounties were reorganized. Forbidden laboratories found themselves struck by lightning on clear days. Some leaders called it tyranny. Some civilians called it the first quiet year they remembered. Both were correct. Sasuke Uchiha killed Itachi during that year. Naruto knew before the news reached Konoha. He felt the 2 signatures clash far from Fire Country. He felt Amaterasu's heat, Suzanu's pressure, Sasuke's rage burning itself hollow. Itachi's heartbeat fading with the terrible piece of a man finishing a lie. Naruto did not intervene. Sasuke's grief was not his problem. But when Sasuke learned the truth afterward, the massacre, the orders, the village, the brother who had chosen to be hated, his chakra changed. not like a flame, like a blade entering water. Cold, deep, directionless, Naruto tracked him for months. Sasuke did not return to Konoha, did not join Naruto, did not immediately attack. He wandered through the new order like a ghost, inspecting a cage. Then the masked man moved. The figure, who called himself Madara, had expected to inherit the collapse of systems. He had expected pain to weaken the world, Akatsuki to gather the tailed beasts, and the villages to exhaust themselves through fear. Instead, Naruto had broken pain, scattered Akatsuki, emancipated Jinchuriki, and placed himself above the conflict structure like a storm ceiling. The masked man adapted. He revealed old contingencies, white Zetsu networks, hidden cells, stolen eyes, forbidden revival methods, ancient bodies preserved for impossible purposes. The name Madara stopped being a mask and became a resurrection. When the true Madara Uchiha returned, the world felt it. Naruto was standing on his platform above Fire Country when the signature appeared. Old, vast, violent, not like Pain, who had built godhood from suffering, not like Orochimaru, who had built immortality from theft. Madara's presence was war remembering its favorite shape. Kurama rose inside the mindscape. "That one," the fox said, voice low, "is dangerous." Naruto looked toward the horizon. "Because he is powerful? Because he believes he already owns the world?" Naruto's eyes brightened. "Then we have a scheduling conflict." Madara did not begin with negotiation. He began by breaking an army. What remained of the allied shinobi forces had formed as a nervous compromise, not to fight Naruto, officially, but to coordinate against the masked man's forces and whatever ancient weapon had emerged from the grave. Thousands of shinobi gathered across a wide plain near the borderlands. Madara landed among them and made numbers meaningless. Perfect Susanoo rose like a blue mountain with a sword. The battlefield stopped being a battlefield and became geography under revision. Naruto arrived after the first valley was carved into the earth. His platform appeared above the clouds. Lightning spread across its underside. Madara looked up. For one heartbeat, the ancient Uchiha smiled. "So," Madara said, voice carrying across the field, "you are the child who interrupted the world." Naruto descended slowly, cloak moving in the charged wind. "You are the corpse who failed to stay historical." Madara's smile widened. Kurama growled. The first exchange erased the plain. Madara's Susanoo blade came down. Naruto became plasma, not lightning alone now, but lightning braided with Kurama's heat, and Uzumaki's seal stabilized output. He passed through the edge of the blade, reformed above Susanoo's shoulder, and drove a spear of white-blue energy into its armor. The Susanoo cracked, then repaired. Hashirama's cells pulsed through Madara's stolen body, regeneration and vitality making even catastrophic damage temporary. Naruto's eyes narrowed. "Regenerative reinforcement," Madara laughed. "Observation will not save you." "No," Naruto said. "It improves the next strike." The next strike split the Susanoo's arm. Madara countered with gravitational force, Rinnegan. The same category of disruption Pain had used, but stronger, more refined, less desperate. Naruto's plasma state flickered as attraction and repulsion bent his current, forcing him into partial physicality. Madara appeared before him in that instant, black receiver in hand. The rod pierced Naruto's side. For the first time in years, pain moved clearly through him. The battlefield held its breath. Naruto looked down at the rod, then at Madara. Useful. He grabbed the receiver and sent a pulse through it. Madara released it before the current reached his arm, laughing as he leapt back. "You learn quickly. You rely on old surprises." Madara's smile faded slightly. The fight moved beyond ordinary perception. Susanoo against storm, fire style swallowed by vacuum channels. Would release burned into charcoal, then regrown, then burned again. Meteorites called from the sky, only for Naruto to convert their outer layers into plasma and redirect their fall path into empty sea. Madara fought with joy, not because he was winning. Because for the first time since Hashirama, something required him to become serious. Naruto fought without joy, not because he was losing, because Madara represented the most irritating kind of failure. A man brilliant enough to see the world was broken and arrogant enough to think dreaming it unconscious was mercy. When Madara spoke of the infinite Tsukuyomi, he did so with conviction. The world cannot be repaired, he said as their powers tore the sky apart. Humans will always choose conflict. Give them freedom and they produce graves. Give them hope and they sharpen it into a weapon. The only peace is a dream where loss cannot enter. Naruto hovered above the shattered ground, lightning branching behind him like wings. You want to anesthetize the patient. I want to end suffering. You want silence. Madara's Rinnegan focused, and you would rule them awake. Yes, they will hate you. Yes, they will fear you. Yes, they will eventually rebel. Naruto's eyes glowed brighter. Then they will be alive enough to make the attempt. For the first time, Madara's expression shifted, not agreement, recognition. They were mirrors in all the wrong ways. Both had looked at humanity and found it insufficient. Both had decided peace required force. Both had placed themselves above consent. The difference was not morality. The difference was method. Madara wanted a sleeping world that could never disappoint him again. Naruto wanted an awake world beneath a storm that never blinked. The moon rose red through the damaged sky. Madara began the final sequence, the 10 Tails remnants, the divine tree, the Rinnegan's reflection. Chakra gathered upward, reaching for the moon's face, preparing to cast the pattern that would drown every mind beneath dreamlight. Naruto looked up. He had been studying the upper atmosphere since he was 12. He knew the charged layers of sky. He knew how light scattered. He knew the moon was not magic by itself. It was a surface, a reflector, a tool in Madara's equation, so he changed the equation. Naruto rose above the battlefield. Madara looked up sharply. "What are you doing?" Naruto lifted both hands. The clouds vanished, not blown aside. Ionized split and cleared across a continental span by a discharge so vast it turned night into a white-blue skeleton of light. The sky opened from horizon to horizon. Then Naruto formed the field. A continent-scale electromagnetic veil wrapped across the moon's visible face, invisible to ordinary sight except where lightning crawled along its edges. The reflected pattern of the infinite Tsukuyomi struck the field and scattered. The light broke. The genjutsu failed. Madara stared at the moon. 70 years of design, war after war, death after death. A lifetime of manipulation, undone not by a punch, not by a speech, not by the chosen hero of an old prophecy, but by a teenager editing the sky. For the first time since childhood, Madara Uchiha looked helpless. Naruto descended. Madara turned back to him slowly. His face was calm now. The joy had left. "You would deny even dreams." Naruto landed before him. "I deny unauthorized systems." Madara laughed once, soft, almost fond. "Hashirama would have hated you. Probably. He would have tried to save you. Many people try inefficient things." Madara's eyes closed briefly. Then he attacked for the final time, not to win, to decide the manner of his ending. Naruto understood and granted it. Their last exchange was silent. Susanoo cracked. Lightning entered. Regeneration failed. Madara stood for one moment with plasma burning through the old machinery of his stolen immortality. He did not scream. Madara Uchiha had built his life on refusing worlds that did not obey his vision. In the end, he refused one more. He fell with his eyes open. The battlefield did not cheer. No one knew if victory was the correct response. Then the ground split. Kaguya emerged like a memory older than nations, the chakra fruit's mother, the source before the river, white hair, pale eyes. Power so ancient that even Kurama fell silent for a moment. Naruto felt something he had rarely felt. Category recognition, not equal in method, but equal in scale. Kaguya looked at him and saw not a child, not a Jinchuriki, not a shinobi, a rival principal. "You carry stolen chakra," she said, voice like distance. Naruto looked at her. "Most inheritance begins as theft." Her eyes narrowed, dimensions opened, lava, ice, desert, gravity, acid. Realities layered like doors being slammed around him, but mantra had grown beyond the local. Naruto felt the portals before they formed, sensed the spatial tension, tracked the electrical pressure of transition. He moved through openings as lightning through a circuit, never where she expected him to remain. Kaguya gathered the expansive truth-seeking ball, a black sphere of ending, matter. Chakra, shape, unmaking, the old shinobi forces panicked. Sasuke, who had arrived during the battle's final stage, activated his Rinnegan and stepped forward. Naruto raised one hand. Don't. Sasuke stopped, not because he obeyed, because he wanted to see Kaguya release the sphere. Naruto did not overpower it directly, he wrote around it. Seal lines erupted across the earth, sky, clouds, broken weapons, scattered stones, living chakra networks, and the platform above. Not ink, not paper. Lightning script. Uzumaki architecture scaled to the horizon. He used the planet itself as the sealing surface. The Earth's magnetic field became the outer ring. The battlefield became the formula. Kurama's chakra became the binding heat. Naruto's lightning became the command. Kaguya's sphere slowed. Its edge distorted. The energy did not vanish. Naruto redirected it, converting portions of its unmaking force into the sealing system, making her power feed the structure designed to contain her. For the first time, Kaguya looked surprised. Naruto's voice carried across the world. You do not get to reclaim what has become self-sustaining. The seal closed, not around her body alone, around her relationship to the world. Kaguya screamed once as light swallowed her, not in death but in forced integration. Her form dissolved into white fire, then into lines, then into a pulse that sank downward through stone, metal, water, and magnetic current. She was sealed not in a moon, not in a person, not in a vessel that could be broken. She was sealed into the planet's electrical field itself. Contained. Distributed, useful. The sky went quiet. For a long time, no one moved. The battlefield was no longer a battlefield. It was the birthplace of a new age that no one had voted for. Naruto stood where Kaguya had vanished. His cloak was torn. Blood marked one side of his face. Lightning still crawled beneath his skin. The platform hovered above him like a black moon. Around him stood the remnants of the shinobi world. Hiruzen, old and silent, Jiraiya, pale with understanding, Gaara, watching with the eyes of one ruler recognizing another and fearing the difference. The Raikage, fists clenched, alive because resistance had become mathematics. Mei, expression unreadable. Anoki for once without a clever remark. Kakashi, one visible eye heavy with grief. Sakura, looking at Naruto as if she had finally understood that saving someone and stopping them were not the same task. Sasuke stood apart from all of them. His brother was dead. His revenge had collapsed into history. His village was guilty. The world was guilty. And Naruto had just defeated the last myth standing between himself and enforcement. For a moment, Sasuke looked as if he might attack. Naruto turned his head slightly. Their eyes met. Lightning and Sharingan, storm and fire. Two orphans made into weapons by systems that called it necessity. Sasuke's hand moved toward his sword. Kakashi placed a hand on his shoulder. Sasuke did not shake it off. That mattered. Naruto looked at the assembled leaders. He said nothing for a long time, then he spoke. Go home! No one interrupted. Rebuild. The platform lowered behind him, casting a wide shadow across the broken land. Naruto's eyes glowed faintly. I'll send instructions. Then he rose, not with a leap, not with a body flicker. The air simply accepted that he belonged above it. He ascended toward the platform. Below him, the shinobi world remained on the ground. That was the image people would remember, not Madara's fall, not Kaguya's ceiling, not the broken moonlight or the burned sky. They would remember Naruto Uzumaki rising while every cage, every army, every survivor, every weapon of the old age looked up and understood the same thing. The wars were over. Not because peace had won. Because something larger than war had claimed jurisdiction. Sasuke watched until the platform disappeared into the clouds. His face had moved beyond anger, Beyond envy, beyond rivalry, what remained was quieter, more permanent, a question with no answer yet. Kakashi's hand stayed on his shoulder. This time Sasuke let it. Above the clouds, Naruto stood at the edge of the platform and looked down at the continent. The battlefield faded beneath distance, villages became points. Rivers became lines, borders became jokes. Inside him, Kurama spoke after a long silence. "You won." Naruto watched lightning crawl along the platform's outer ring. "No." Kurama's ears shifted. "No." Naruto looked toward the horizon where the 5 nations waited, damaged, frightened, alive. "I removed opposition." The fox was silent. Naruto's eyes reflected the world below. Now comes the difficult part. The platform turned toward Fire Country. Behind it, the sky still flickered from the field that had denied the moon. Below it, the old world began preparing to receive instructions. And for the first time in shinobi history, every village understood that morning would come, whether they accepted it or not. Chapter 6. The Moon and What Comes After a World Reborn in Thunder. The Divine Empire's first days, 3 months after the war ended, the sky learned to hold a city. At first, people thought it was a storm. That was the easiest explanation. A black shape high above Fire Country, hidden behind clouds, surrounded by occasional flickers of blue-white light. Farmers saw it at dawn and made protective signs with trembling fingers. Children pointed until adults pulled their hands down. Merchants stopped their carts on open roads and stared upward with the same expression people once reserved for eclipses, comets, and bad omens. Then the clouds cleared, and the world saw the platform. It floated 2 kilometers above the center of the old Fire Country, directly over the region where political roads, military routes, and trade paths overlapped. It did not drift. It did not circle. It did not need to. It simply remained. A vast, circular citadel of dark stone, metal veins, and glowing seal lines, suspended in open air by forces no village fully understood and no army could reach. From the ground, it looked like a second moon that had grown tired of waiting for night. At sunrise, its underside caught the light in hard lines. At sunset, lightning crawled along its rim like divine handwriting. The people who needed to call it something began calling it the Raijin platform. Naruto had not named it. Names were for people who needed emotional handles on objects larger than their understanding. The platform was not decorative. Nothing about Naruto's empire was decorative. Its outer ring held defense arrays. Its inner ring housed archives, communication relays, atmospheric stabilizers, and sealed chambers where the records of every major village had been copied, categorized, and stored under electric lock. At its center stood a tall citadel, spare and severe, rising from the platform like a black tower built by someone who had never once asked whether stone could look welcoming. There were no banners, no statues, no throne room. That confused people most. An emperor should have a throne. Naruto had a work chamber. It was circular, open, and almost empty. Floor-to-ceiling panels made from electrically stabilized transparent crystal looked out over the continent below. A single low table sat near the center, usually covered with ceiling diagrams, troop reports, rewritten laws, intercepted correspondence, and maps whose borders Naruto had started marking in pencil rather than ink. Borders, he had decided, were temporary arguments. Around the main chamber were smaller rooms, a sealing library, a medical review room, a communication hall, a chamber for tailed beast matters, a place for visitors who needed gravity, air pressure, and emotional preparation before meeting him, and one small side room. No one entered that room except Naruto. It contained a single hook on the wall. On that hook hung an old orange jacket. The fabric was worn at the cuffs. One sleeve still carried a faint scorch mark from the night Mizuki threw the shuriken. It had been washed many times, repaired twice, and preserved for no practical reason. Naruto told himself he kept it as a measurement tool, a reminder of baseline identity before transformation. Kurama, from inside the mindscape, called that explanation stupid. Naruto had not thrown the jacket away. That was the only answer that mattered. The empire began with letters, not speeches, not parades, not statues. Letters. They arrived in every hidden village at the same time, burned into stone tablets by lightning from a clear sky. In Konoha, the tablet landed before the rebuilt Hawkage Tower. In Suna, it embedded itself in the council floor without cracking the stone beneath. In Kumo, it arrived in the Raikage's office and destroyed the desk, but not the paperwork, which the Raikage took as a personal insult. In Kiri, it appeared in the mist above the administrative hall and lowered itself politely into the Mizukage's hands. In Iwa, it dropped from the clouds, stopped 1 inch above Anoki's head, waited until he looked up, then settled onto the table before him. The message was identical in all 5 nations. The old system would remain visible, but not sovereign. Each cage would continue administering local matters. Village identity would not be erased. Clan structures would not be dissolved unless they violated the new continental laws. Civilian governments would continue their functions. Trade would continue. Missions would continue under revised distribution. The world would not be occupied because occupation was inefficient. Then came the laws. Law 1. No hidden village may maintain a standing military force beyond the assigned threshold without platform approval. Law 2. No Jinchuriki may be owned, confined, deployed, traded, threatened, or politically bound by any village, clan, council, or daimyo. Law 3. Forbidden experimentation involving children, living prisoners, soul manipulation, tailed beast extraction, forced bloodline transfer, or involuntary body modification is punishable by immediate platform intervention. Law 4. No village may declare war independently. Law 5. Any cage may petition the platform for review, but petition does not suspend enforcement. Law 6. The platform reserves judgment. The last line was what frightened people most. It was not specific. Specific laws could be negotiated. That one sounded like weather. Reactions varied. The Raikage punched through another wall. Anoki called the tablet an insult, then spent 8 hours reading it with his advisors and found no legal weakness strong enough to risk testing. Mei Terumi ordered copies made, then quietly sent investigators into old mist prisons before Naruto could. Gaara read the laws once and placed the tablet in the Kazekage chamber where everyone could see it. Hiruzen Sarutobi stared at Konoha's tablet for a long time, then asked Shikaku Nara what he thought. Shikaku said, "It's terrifying." Hiruzen nodded, then Shikaku added, "It might work." That was worse. The first month was not rebellion, it was hesitation. Everyone waited for Naruto to overreach in a familiar way. Tyrants were supposed to tax heavily, place soldiers in streets, demand worship, seize noble estates, kill rivals, take hostages, declare new titles, build statues, rename cities. Naruto did none of that. He did not collect tribute. He did not occupy capitals. He did not demand prayer. He did not require people to love him. In some ways, that made the new order harder to resist. A man demanding worship could be mocked. A ruler demanding money could be bargained with. An invader could be fought. Naruto only watched, and everyone knew he watched. Mantra had grown with the platform. The Citadel's seal network amplified Naruto's awareness across impossible distances. Not perfectly, not every thought, not every secret. He could not read minds in the simple way frightened civilians imagined. What he read was enough. Mass troop movement, hidden armories warming under increased use, the unique electrical patterns of experimental laboratories, chakra spikes during interrogation, the nervous systems of Jinchuriki under stress. Large-scale deception translated into bodies preparing for violence. A conspiracy could still exist, it simply could not become action unnoticed. That changed the world more than armies had. In a small border town between earth and grass, a local warlord tried to hire missing nin to raid villages under a false flag and blame Iwa. The night before the attack, lightning struck the storehouse where the weapons had been gathered. No one died. Every blade melted into a single metal lump shaped vaguely like a warning. The warlord confessed by sunrise. In Water Country, an old prison facility attempted to move bloodline prisoners before Kiri's inspectors arrived. A bolt struck the road ahead of the convoy and wrote one word into the stone. Return. They returned. In Lightning Country, a military commander began hiding extra troops by listing them as engineering labor. 3 days later, every false roster in his office caught fire except the correct one. The Raikage laughed when he heard. Then he dismissed the commander personally. Not because he enjoyed obedience, because he understood strength, and Naruto's strength had made dishonesty look childish. But peace was not born cleanly. Nothing human was. There were riots in 2 cities. A daimyo in Earth Country declared that no sky-bound child had authority over ancient bloodlines. He changed his mind when his private army's armor magnetized itself to the floor during inspection. Several clans attempted to hide forbidden techniques before the review teams arrived. One Hyuga elder argued that internal clan seals were not subject to external law. Naruto sent no lightning that day. He sent Neji. That did more damage. Neji Hyuga entered the clan council chamber not as a rebel, not as a victim, but as an appointed reviewer under platform authority. His curse mark remained on his forehead, but the seal had been modified. Not removed yet, not fully. Naruto had explained that ripping out a control seal without understanding its deepest fail-safes could kill the wearer, so instead he had interrupted its authority. Neji stood before the elders who had once turned fate into a cage and read the new law aloud. His voice did not shake. Hinata watched from the doorway. Her father said nothing. That was the beginning of the Hyuga changing, not redemption, not forgiveness. A beginning. Naruto tracked all of it from above. He did not sleep much. The platform did not require sleep from him, and sleep had always felt like a temporary surrender to systems he preferred to observe. He rested in intervals, sitting cross-legged in the central chamber while electricity cycled through the floor beneath him and Kurama's. Chakra warmed the outer ceiling rings. Kurama complained often. "You made yourself into a lighthouse." Naruto reviewed a report from Mist. Lighthouses prevent crashes. They also attract idiots. That provides useful sorting. Kurama snorted. Their mindscape had changed. The cage remained, but the corridor had widened. The water was lower now, not gone but no longer ankle-deep everywhere. Seal lines glowed softly across the walls, not weakening the cage, not opening it, but regulating the flow between them more cleanly. Kurama still refused to call this cooperation. Naruto did not need the word. "You freed the other Jinchuriki," Kurama said one night. I changed their legal category. "That is the ugliest way to describe mercy I have ever heard. Mercy depends on mood. Law is more reliable. Law depends on whoever holds power." Naruto looked up from the scroll. Yes, Kurama's eyes narrowed behind the bars. "At least you know." Naruto said nothing. The fox shifted, tails moving in the dark. "Do you?" Naruto paused. That was unusual. Kurama noticed. "What happens when you are wrong, brat?" Naruto looked down at his hand. Lightning crawled between his fingers, obedient and pale. "Then someone must survive me." Kurama stared. "That is not an answer. It is the only one available." The fox was silent for a long time. Then he said very quietly, "That old orange jacket in the room." Naruto's eyes lifted. "What about it? You keep it because you know surviving you might require something that is not this." Naruto did not answer. Kurama smiled, all teeth and old malice, but there was no triumph in it, only recognition. "Good," the fox said. "You are not entirely lost." Visitors came rarely. Most were summoned through formal channels. Cage, advisors, reviewers, Jinchuriki, medical specialists. Engineers terrified by the idea of repairing a floating citadel while its owner could hear their heartbeats accelerate every time they lied about structural confidence. But some requested access. Almost all were denied. Hinata Hyuga was not. She sent no political letter, no clan seal, no formal petition. She stood at the base of the platform's ground elevator, a black stone column outside Konoha where civilians and official envoys could request ascent, and placed one hand against the recognition seal. Then she waited. Naruto felt her from above. Hinata's heartbeat had always been unusual around him. Once it had carried panic, admiration, and fear braided so tightly that even Mantra found it noisy. Now it was quieter, still nervous, still human. But beneath that was resolve, no deception, no agenda spike, no political handler nearby. Just Hinata. Kurama opened one eye, the Hyuga girl. Yes. Why is she here? Naruto looked through the crystal panel at the continent below to ask something no one else will. The elevator descended. It reached the ground inside a column of compressed lightning, contained by seals so precise that the grass around it did not burn. Hinata stepped onto the platform with visible fear and remained standing anyway. That earned Naruto's attention. When the elevator reached the citadel, she entered the central chamber slowly. She wore simple clothes, not formal clan robes. Her hair had grown longer. Her Byakugan was inactive, but Naruto knew she was aware of everything: the chamber's size, the charged air, the absence of guards, the impossible view beyond the panels. Most people looked at the world below first. Hinata looked at Naruto. He sat on the floor near the low table, a ceiling diagram half finished before him. "You asked to visit," he said. "Yes." "Why?" Hinata opened her mouth, closed it. For once, Naruto waited. The silence was large, but not cruel. Finally, she said, "I wanted to see if you were still here." Naruto looked at her. "I am visibly here." She almost smiled. "Almost? That's not what I meant." "No," he said. "I know." Hinata walked closer, stopping several steps away. Her hands were folded in front of her, fingers tight but controlled. Below them, the continent stretched in miniature. Konoha was a cluster of renewed structures. Rivers shone like wires. Roads crossed forests and plains. Villages looked peaceful from this height, which Naruto knew was one of distance's favorite lies. Hinata looked out. "It's beautiful from up here." "Yes." "And small." "Yes." "Is that why you stay here?" Naruto considered. "No, I stay here because altitude improves field stability, response range, and symbolic pressure." Hinata looked at him. The answer was exactly what she should have expected. It still hurt. She stepped toward the crystal panel and placed a hand near it, not touching. "Everyone talks about you now," she said. "All the time, the elders, the village, the other nations, they talk like you're a law or a storm or a punishment." Naruto returned to the ceiling diagram. "That is efficient." "No," Hinata said softly. His hand paused. She turned toward him. "It's lonely." For a moment, the platform seemed too quiet. Naruto looked at her. Hinata's heartbeat was fast now, but she did not look away. "You came here to tell me I'm lonely?" "No." "Then why?" She swallowed. "To ask if you're happy." The question landed badly, not painfully, badly in the sense of an object that did not fit the category it had been assigned. Naruto set the brush down. "Happy," he repeated. Hinata nodded. He thought about it seriously. That was something she had always noticed. Naruto did not dismiss questions he considered real. He might answer them strangely. He might make them colder than the person asking wanted, but he did not pretend to consider what he had already discarded. Finally, he said, "That is a human framework. I'm not sure it applies." Hinata's eyes shimmered faintly. "What framework does?" Naruto looked at the continent. "Correct, incorrect, complete, incomplete." Her voice was barely above a whisper. "Which one is this?" The platform hummed beneath them. Lightning moved somewhere in the walls. Naruto did not answer immediately. Below, millions of lives moved through the first days of the new world. Civilians rebuilt homes. Shinobi revised orders. Children learned that war might become something from history if the sky remained watchful enough. Cage signed documents they hated. Prisoners were released. Laboratories were sealed. Armies shrank. Fear spread. Safety spread with it. Both things were true. Naruto looked at all of it small, all of it tethered, all of it alive because he had decided the old world had failed too many times. "Ask me again in 100 years, he said. Hinata closed her eyes. A tear slid down her face, but she did not sob. Naruto noticed the tear. He did not understand why it made the room feel heavier. "You disapprove," he said. Hinata opened her eyes. "I don't know." That answer interested him. Most people lied when frightened. Hinata simply admitted uncertainty and let it stand. "You helped people. she said. You are helping people. Some villages are safer now. Some children are free now. Neji, she stopped, then continued. Neji walks differently. Naruto waited, but you also took something from everyone. War capacity. Choice! Naruto looked at her. Those were often the same thing. Hinata flinched, not because he was wrong, because he was not entirely wrong. That was the tragedy of him. He was rarely stupid. He was rarely cruel without purpose. He was often correct about the wound and monstrous about the surgery. Hinata bowed her head. I used to think if someone had just been kind to you early enough, maybe— Naruto watched her. Maybe what? Maybe you would have stayed. Naruto looked toward the small side room where the orange jacket hung unseen. I did stay. Hinata shook her head. No, you remained. The distinction moved through him like a weak electrical pulse, small, unexpected, memorable. Hinata turned toward the exit. I should go. Naruto did not stop her. At the doorway, she paused. Naruto-kun. The old honorific sounded strange in the citadel, almost impossible. He looked at her. She did not blush this time. She did not tremble. I don't hate you. Naruto said nothing. Hinata continued, but I miss someone I'm not sure ever existed. Then she left. The elevator carried her down through the sky. Naruto stood alone in the central chamber and tracked her heartbeat all the way to Konoha. People asked her what happened on the platform. Clan members, Konoha officials, quietly curious civilians. Neji once. Hinata told them only that Naruto had received her, nothing more. Whenever anyone pressed, her heartbeat changed into the pattern of a person keeping a secret they had chosen to protect. Naruto noticed. He did not know what to do with that, so he stored it. Sasuke arrived 11 days later. Not by letter, not by summons. He walked across fire country alone, sword at his side, cloak dusty from roads he did not need to use but chose anyway. Naruto felt him coming long before the ground elevator came into sight. Sasuke had changed. His heartbeat was quieter now. Still sharp. Still dangerous. But no longer burning in the old direction. Revenge had once made him easy to read. Hatred had moved through him like fire through dry wood. Now there was ash, and beneath it, something unresolved. He reached the base of the elevator near sunset. Then he sat down. He did not touch the request seal, did not call out, did not send chakra upward. He simply sat with his back against the black stone column, arms folded, sharing an inactive, and looked at the sky. Naruto watched from above. Kurama made a low sound. The Uchiha? Yes, he wants something. No. Kurama's ears shifted. No, Naruto looked through mantra. Sasuke's body carried no immediate attack pattern, no deception spike, no formal petition stress, no assassination rhythm, no surrender, only presence, unresolved, honest presence. Naruto said, he is deciding whether wanting still matters. Kurama snorted. Humans. Naruto sent the elevator down. Sasuke did not move when it arrived. The platform opened behind him, humming softly. Only after a full minute did he stand and step onto it. When he entered the central chamber, Naruto was standing by the crystal panels. They looked at each other. No greeting, no names. Too much history stood between them, and not enough of it had been shared honestly. Sasuke looked around the chamber once. No throne. No, disappointed, not surprised. Naruto turned back toward the view. Sasuke walked closer, stopping beside him. Far below, Konoha glowed in the dusk. For a long time, neither spoke. Then Sasuke said, You let me kill Itachi. Yes, you knew there was more to it. Yes. Sasuke's jaw tightened. You could have told me. Yes, the old Sasuke might have attacked. This one closed his eyes. Why didn't you? Naruto answered without softness. Because truth given before a person can survive, it becomes another weapon used against them. Sasuke opened his eyes, and you decided when I could survive it. No, I decided not to make it my responsibility. Sasuke laughed once, dry, bitter, honest. You really are impossible. Naruto looked at him. You came here to say that? No, Sasuke looked down at the world below. I wanted to see if it was true. What? That the world is quieter. Naruto waited. Sasuke's fingers rested near his sword, not gripping it. I traveled. Rice villages near the old borders, small countries, places nobody cared about unless war needed a road through them. His voice lowered. Some of them are better. Naruto said nothing. I wanted that to be false. Why? Sasuke's eyes hardened. Because if this works, then every person who told us suffering was necessary was either lying or weak. Naruto looked at him. Yes, Sasuke's Sharingan flickered briefly, then faded, and if you become worse, then someone should stop me. Sasuke turned fully toward him. You say that like it's a task assignment. It is. To who? Naruto looked at him for a long moment. The air between them hummed. Then Naruto said, possibly you. Sasuke stared. That answer seemed to anger him less than it should have. Maybe because it was not flattery. Maybe because it was not trust. Maybe because for the first time since Itachi's death, someone had given his survival a function that was not revenge. Sasuke looked back at the continent. I don't accept your empire. I know. I don't accept Konoha either. I know. I don't know what I accept. That is more honest than most governments. Sasuke almost smiled, almost. He stayed on the platform for one night. They did not train, they did not fight. They spoke 3 times. Once about Itachi, once about Madara, once about whether peace created under fear deserved to be called peace. Neither convinced the other. That mattered less than expected. At dawn, Sasuke left, not as an enemy, not as an ally, as something more difficult, a witness. In the weeks that followed, he traveled through the nations under no banner, answering to no cage and refusing platform appointment. Naruto tracked him and did not interfere. People began calling Sasuke the Shadow Road. Naruto found the name dramatic and imprecise. Sasuke tolerated it because correcting strangers was tedious. The world continued. That was the strangest part. After every prophecy, war, god, monster, and empire, people still needed food, fields had to be planted. Bridges repaired, children taught, tools sharpened, contracts rewritten, grief buried or carried. The world did not become clean because a storm sat above it, it became managed. The first year of Naruto's rule was later called the Quiet Year, not because no one suffered. That would be a lie, but because no nation went to war. No Jinchuriki was dragged from a home by village order. No clan purge occurred under the excuse of stability. No hidden laboratory survived once discovered. No border lord could raid a neighboring town and expect politics to protect him. There were fewer funerals. That was the empire's strongest argument. There were also fewer choices. That was its deepest wound. Naruto knew both. He kept records of both. Not out of guilt, out of accuracy. On the final night of that first season, Naruto climbed to the highest point of the platform. A narrow spire rose above the citadel, piercing the cloud layer and reaching into the black edge of the upper atmosphere. The air was thin there, cold enough to frost ordinary skin. Naruto stood barefoot on the dark stone, cloak moving in the wind, lightning breathing softly beneath him. Below, the continent glowed to mantra, not with city lights alone, with life. 48 million living nervous systems, give or take the latest census correction from River Country. Each one a tiny electrical declaration. Heartbeats, muscles, dreams, fear, hunger, love, lies, pain, anger, hope. From this height, humanity was not noise, it was a field. A vast, trembling field of signals that could not organize itself without damage and could not be organized without losing something sacred. Naruto looked at the moon. It hung above him, silent and pale, closer than it looked, farther than it deserved. In his mindscape, Kurama spoke for the first time in days. You're thinking about it. Naruto did not deny it. The fox's tails shifted behind the bars. The moon is not a footstool. Naruto looked upward. Everything is a footstool for something. Kurama groaned. You are insufferable. Naruto's mouth moved, not a smile exactly, the suggestion of one. I know, the fox studied him. You conquered the world and still look bored. I did not conquer the world, Kurama snorted. Fine, you aggressively reorganized it from the sky. I interrupted predictable collapse. You put yourself above everyone. Yes, and now you're looking higher. Naruto did not answer. The moon reflected in his eyes. For most people, it was an object of poetry, distance, beauty, romance, madness, night. For Naruto, it was surface, gravity, reflected light, old seals, ancient myths, Madara's failed projection. Kaguya's former prison, and the obvious next reference point in a universe that had not yet proven it contained a ceiling. Kurama's voice lowered. What happens to the people below if you keep climbing? Naruto looked down. The continent pulsed beneath him. Konoha, Suna, Kiri, Kumo, Iwa, small countries, roads, farms, rivers, children asleep under roofs that had not burned that year. Hinata's words returned, you remained. Sasuke's silence returned. Uruka's food bundle, Hiruzen's tired eyes, Jiraiya's unfinished letters, the orange jacket on the hook. For one strange second, Naruto saw not systems, but attachments pretending to be data because that was the only way he had allowed himself to keep them. The moment passed, but not completely. I don't know, Naruto said. Kurama went still. It was a small answer, a human answer. Naruto did not often give those. The fox settled down behind the bars. Good. Naruto raised one hand. Lightning gathered around his fingers, not for destruction, not for demonstration, not for law. For the same reason he had done it as a 12-year-old boy on the roof of his apartment, when the sky first answered him and the world became larger than pain. To ask the atmosphere a question. He released a single bolt upward. It climbed into the upper air, a white line drawn through darkness. It branched once, then again, touching charged layers of the sky invisible to ordinary sight. The bolt curved with the planet's field, arcing beyond the horizon, traveling farther than any human eye could follow. 3 seconds passed. Then it returned, not as a strike, as answer. The current curved back into Naruto's open hand, clean and complete, carrying with it the shape of the world's electromagnetic skin. The circuit closed. Naruto stood at the top of the platform, holding the returning lightning like a thread tied around the planet. Below him, the Empire slept uneasily. Above him, the moon said nothing. It never did. But it kept reflecting the lightning. And for Naruto Uzumaki, who had been hated as a monster, used as a vessel, feared as a weapon, and crowned by no one but himself, reflection was answer enough. The world was a circuit. He was the current. He looked at the moon and thought about what came next, not because conquest was finished. Because conquest, for a god who had not yet found his ceiling, was simply another word for direction. Behind him, far below in the citadel, the orange jacket hung quietly in its room. It did not glow. It did not speak. It did not accuse. It simply remained. And somewhere, beneath lightning, law, empire, and sky, some part of Naruto remained with it, for now. The moon said nothing. It never does. But it kept reflecting the lightning, which was answer enough.